trash talking and trash creating that's gone on with cars hitting the wall all week long, Darrell. Now it's time. Now we've got to find out, do you have what you have, and can you keep it under you?
Yeah, well, it's showtime. You're in Vegas, it's showtime, baby. You know, all that complaining, all that whining, all that the tires are too hard and the track's too fast, the fuel cells are too small. We got to put on a show. That's what we came here to do, and I guarantee you, my buddies won't let you down. Will they, Larry?
No, sir. Yeah, and I think the show that we're going to see, that's the unknown, and that is the question. And the reason, as Chris Myers alluded to, we've been racing here since 1998. But today, for the first time, the only thing that's the same from any of the previous races is the location of this track and some of the same drivers. We've talked about all the things that's different. The new surface, the more banking, the harder tire. But I think for the most part, what we do know we're going to see, a guy that doesn't have a good handling race car, he could be in that safer barrier. And like Jeff Hammond said, lots of mistakes could be made right there on pit road with the number of pit stops they'll be made.
New configuration, new banking, a lot of cars in the wall, a lot of pit stops today with the small fuel cell. So you got to go out there and see what it's like. Darrell and Jeff did just that with this week's Drive and Ride. I'm told there were sightings of Hammond impersonators in the garage area today.
I don't know if it's any good or not, all that information, but we sure do have fun doing it. No doubt.
That's the main thing. Budweiser, the official beer of NASCAR, is sponsor of the Budweiser Pole Award given to the fastest qualifier at each NASCAR Nextel Cup race. Budweiser congratulates Casey Kane, this weekend's pole sitter and the latest Budweiser shootout eligible driver. It's his 13th career pole and his second at Las Vegas. Set to go for 400 miles on a track untested with this combination. Thrills and spills await. Mostly thrills. You're watching NASCAR on Fox. Welcome back to NASCAR on Fox as they get ready to roll. There's our 7 onboard views we'll be showing you today. Beginning with the pole sitter, Casey Kane. From our DLP HD TV cam, there's a look at the front straightaway, and here's today's FedEx racetracks. Blanche from Londonderry, New Hampshire, where it's a little chillier than it is here in Vegas, wants to know how the drivers feel about this racetrack as a group.
Well, you know, I think they're going to be all right. I think they got the Busch race in yesterday. They learned a lot watching that race. Tires, I think they'll be able to adjust up a little bit. The thing that hurts them most is the air pressure in the tires. Not a lot of adjustment to be done there, but I think they'll be fine.
That's when we saw most of the problems yesterday, was right after a restart when the air pressures were down.
Let's ask one of our driver buddies if we can get an opinion from him. Hey, Junebug, it's DW. Got a copy?
Yeah, man.
Hey, buddy, there's so much concern about the race today, and I know you're a little unhappy with your car. I heard you and Tony Jr. discussing what to do to it yesterday. What do you think we're going to see today, bud?
Well, I think everybody's going to take it easy. I was kind of happy with my car. Tony Jr. guys did a pretty good job making it as fast as they could, but it's real slick. We kind of got a curveball with the tire selection today, but everybody has to deal with it, so we'll just have to take it easy and try to stay out of trouble. It's going to be real slick.
Is that going to be your game plan, just to lay back a little bit, or are you going to charge to the front?
You know me, I'll do whatever my car will do. I try not to do more than that, because I usually get in trouble.
All right, bud. Thanks a lot, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Some drivers didn't much like the track. Others, like Jeff Burton, who won yesterday, applauded Goodyear's decision to go to a harder tire here in the interest of safety. And you're encouraged to write in your questions about each track we visit as part of the FedEx Letter of the Week. We'll feature one letter on air during the FedEx Racetrack segment. FoxSports.com, keyword FedEx, gives you all the information.
And I think the thing you notice with the tires is the cars they don't just all of a sudden snap loose, and that's just lack of grip.
Yeah, it's like, I talked to a lot of the crew chiefs, Darrell and Mike, and they said it's like walking on top of a razor blade. You don't want to be loose with your race car. Saw a lot of cars get in trouble because of that, but you can't be shoving that nose either, because you'll abuse the right front. Let's talk about the keys to this race today. W, all switches up. Remember, you talked about it, the air pressures are down. Give me a good clean start. Remember, it's a long race, and oh, by the way, reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time.
43 cars, 400 miles, new untested racetrack.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Viva Las Vegas, boys, go racing!
pretty tense right now, guys. The track's been laying there in the sun all morning, pretty hot. Slick enough when they get going around here with the cars, but it's really bad on the first few laps.
Kane, Stremme, Sadler, Jeff Burton fighting Montoya side by side for fourth.
Whoa. Looked like Montoya may have scraped the wall going down into one.
But Darrell, definitely the track is the hottest it's been since these guys have been here. We got one all the way against the wall.
David Ragan
in the 6 car. And caution will wave.
He got up high, Larry. We've seen that time and time again. Got that dirt all over his tires and could not get the car back down.
And David comes in here 5th in the points, the top finishing rookie in the first 2 races.
We said expect the unexpected. The one thing we expected was matching yesterday's record number of caution flags, and here's a reason why.
Yeah, you see, just gets up out of the groove. Now you watch the dust start to fly. See the dust and dirt that's coming up around the car? That's just that's residue from the tires and the sand and everything else that's up against the outside wall.
And Darrell, we talked about no grip. The higher you go, the worse it gets.
Rookie David Ragan, 5th at Daytona, highest rookie in the point standings, first car to test the outside wall in Las Vegas.
NASCAR and Nextel Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Napa Auto Parts. Napa, get the good stuff. By DirecTV, just say ride shotgun on race day with NASCAR Hot Pass, only on DirecTV. By Toyota, moving forward. And by Nextel, only from Sprint, helping NASCAR Nextel Cup fans get more done.
The Thunderbirds performing here in Las Vegas. Just another of the headline groups. Brooks and Dunn are in town, Ray Romano. And the Dodges, because in qualifying, Dodge pretty well spanked the field. And as you look at the front runners right now, 7 of the first 8 cars are Dodges, led by pole sitter Kasey Kahne. David Ragan taking his car to the garage. And our singular question, which was prepared in advance, AT&T Singular Virtual Crew Chief question. Mike Stillman of North Carolina wants to know which rookie will have the most successful season. David Ragan, Juan Pablo Montoya, Paul Menard, or David Rudiman. Text the word crew to 191 on your AT&T Singular wireless phone. Singular is the new AT&T.
Those small fuel cells, 13.5 gallons, these guys can only run about 40 to 42 laps. We had about a half a dozen cars, including Matt Kenseth and Ryan Newman, both the Yates cars, come to pit road, top those fuel tanks off.
All of them started toward the back of the field, so they gave up little track position in order to top off.
And that's just part of the strategy, trying to figure out what you want to be, where you want to be at the end of the day.
I wonder how many, or should I say how few, green flag pit stops we'll have today. They restart with 5 laps complete.
Jeff Burton, that 31 car, got a heck of a restart. It is legal to pass to the outside, to the right side, once the green flag has been displayed on a restart.
Yeah, and it's a guy, you're not supposed to, if you're driving your car, you're supposed to protect that right side. A couple guys didn't do that very well.
Teammates Reed Sorensen, Juan Pablo Montoya. Sorensen 41.
Now, this is one thing I think we're going to see a lot of, though. These cars can run side by side. We have 2 very distinctive racing grooves. I think it just depends on where your car works the best.
See those 3 Dodges right there. The 2-car Kurt Busch, hometown boy here. This is a home game for him. He works to the inside of Sorensen in the 41. Said winning at Vegas would mean more to him than winning anywhere else on the Nextel Cup circuit. That's his brother Kyle Busch, the 5 behind him, ran 2nd yesterday.
They had a pretty good go of it yesterday for a number of laps. Larry, we're talking about on the restarts how you protect the right-hand side. And, of course, you look in your mirror and be sure that the guy that is behind you is not going to try to jump up on that right side and take advantage of you. Watch what happened to Casey Mears back here about mid-pack. Here he comes right here down at the bottom of the screen. Here he comes. He jumps out right there. Johnny Sauter said, no way am I going to allow that, and tried to put him in the fence.
You can see well over 155 miles per hour with the Fox tracks by the time he got to the start-finish line to take the green. I know right now Kasey Kahne in that 9 car, it may not stay there, but he has set sail on these boys.
Sadler and Stremme fighting for 2nd place. Well, not much of a fight, was it?
It was not a fight at all.
Those 2 Dodges.
But David Strimmey had a
Trouble
good run
turn one.
yesterday.
Big pile up. Casey Mears is in it. Robbie Gordon.
And this is about the way that Casey Mears' day started yesterday, about this time, before lap 10 in the Busch race.
It's just really, really difficult to hook these cars up with the tire combination that they have on these cars. It's just very difficult.
An unhappy birthday weekend for Casey Mears and Ward Burton, the state water heaters car, also involved. It's hard to get hooked up, Darrell, but it looks easy when a car gets loose to hook one into the fence.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's no saving it. They just snap around. We saw Casey Mears here on that restart, though. Saw him right here. Here he goes. We saw him on that restart try to get up on the outside. He got in the fence a little bit, but I don't think that had anything to do with what happens to him here.
Ooh. It's almost like it all started with Robbie Gordon in the 7, Ward Burton in the 4 got together.
Yeah, Robbie drove down underneath Ward, and they got together, and Casey was high on the outside in the 25 and put him in the fence.
It was just a victim, and that's exactly what he was yesterday on that first caution, was just a victim.
It's really just, oh, you can see Robbie really got stuck his nose in under Ward Burton in the 4 car there. A little bit maybe he should have been a little more patient than that this early in the race, and particularly with all the conversation we've had about the track and the tires and everything.
Robbie Gordon started 38th, was trying to move up through the field, and of those 3 cars, Gordon's has the least amount of damage. He's back on track after a pit stop.
Well, we've run 9 laps. We got 3 cars in the garage already.
And we got a bunch of takers on pit road, starting with Juan Pablo Montoya in the 42, and everybody from about 15th back on pit road.
Because of the smaller fuel cell mandated for this race. And Montoya can't get out. He's a little blocked.
Well, here's what's going to happen, Mike. Because of the tires, they don't need any tires. They just need fuel. You're going to have teams doing all kind of different things. Montoya tried to gas and go, and he couldn't get out because of the car in front of him.
Quite a few of these stops were fuel only. Let's check with Dick Berggren.
Well, Greg Biffle, who had crashed very, very hard here during testing, crashed again in a second test that was held here at the Speedway, is very uncomfortable with his race car, understandably so. He said it feels as if the tires just are not gripping the racetrack and doesn't know if it's a problem with the car, with the suspension, but he's called for a new set of tires and fuel. Steve Burns.
Dick, when the caution flag came out, listening to Casey Kane, talking to his crew, he says it's already starting to get slick out here. He said, I feel like the back end is starting to slide out on me.
I think we'll hear that today.
Yeah, that's within 10 laps, and his back end's already hanging out.
Let's take a look at Juan Pablo Montoya and his problems on pit road. Again, he was going to try to do a gas and go here. You can see they're making a slight adjustment on the car. They've got the car fuel. You see the fuel man shaking his head, but he's blocked in by Tony Raines in the 96 car. So really and truly, trying to gain some positions by just fueling only, it went out the window right there.
Now, we say he was blocked in, Larry, but Raines was stopped legally in his pit box.
Oh, yeah, there was
wrong.
nothing that Tony Raines did wrong. It's just the nature of the product we have there.
I give him credit for one thing. He didn't throw it in reverse and try to back up. That'll tear a gearbox up quicker than anything.
I think he learned that in the 150 at Daytona.
He did that very thing, and I told him when I talked to him about it, I said, the crew is supposed to push you back, and they did today.
And he listened.
They did today.
11 laps complete, 3 cars in the garage. Ward Burton, Casey Mears, David Reagan.
Those are the little things, though, that really impressed me about Juan Montoya. He picks up and he learns from his mistakes.
You're invited to participate in today's Domino's Hot Lap to play. Select which of today's top 5 qualifiers, you see them on the screen, will be the first to complete lap 100. Text the letter corresponding to your choice to FOXSP. FOXSP on any wireless phone, and all participants are automatically entered to win the ultimate fan experience at the Michigan race in August.
About the top 14, 15 cars, with the exception of Montoya in the 42, elected to stay out that time. Some of those guys were on pit road back on lap 3.
Robbie Gordon came back in for repairs and then rejoined the field tail end.
That was why I was talking about strategy. They're up front now. Next time they'll pit, the other guys will be up front. Try to figure out when to be up front at the end. That's what you're wanting to do.
Getting set to restart as we complete 12 laps. 2 cautions already.
Boy, I mean, Jeff Burton in that 31, he is on his game today, at least for now, on restarts. He's going to take 3rd position away from Strimmy in the 40.
I believe after the run he had yesterday, and he loves this racetrack, he's the guy to put your money on.
Watch that 5. Kyle Busch got underneath his big brother, and now he's going for one more.
And he probably wants to stay right with Burton because they had a real go of it at the end of the race yesterday. Probably like to get up there and race him a little better today.
Jeff Burton trying to do what Kevin Harvick and Matt Kenseth have already done in this young season, sweep the weekend. We have not yet had a Cup Busch weekend where we've had 2 different winners.
Mike, you talked about the Dodges. How about the Evernham Dodges? Elliott Sadler, that 19 car, he's starting to run the high side. He's trying to take the lead away from his teammate, and he will over in turn 3 and 4.
That transition into turn 3 over there is a nice transition. They banked the back straightaway 9 degrees. It used to be almost flat. And it really helps you carry speed into turn 3.
Which is how Jeff Burton won that race yesterday.
Exactly. Got a great run off of 2 and then was able to carry the speed into 3. I like it.
Gives this track a characteristic much like Atlanta. Here comes Burton looking on the outside. Casey Kane to the high groove to block. Burton goes low. He's got room for 2nd place.
And I tell you something about Burton. You have not heard that man complain about anything all weekend here. He likes the track. The tires are the tires. I like my car. Positive attitude means a lot.
I mean, I love what I'm seeing right here. It's very rare we can go to a brand new surface 1.5 mile racetrack with this banking and not see guys run anywhere but right on the bottom. They're all over this 1.5 mile racetrack, in the bottom, in the middle.
Larry, if they'd make the tires and the cars and the tracks, and if they'd make them all perfect, I wouldn't have quit driving.
Jeff Burton for 2nd again. Took the inside and, whoa, used up a lot of racetrack getting 2nd away from Casey Kane.
But we heard that Casey Kane was already starting to not like his race car, that it was starting to slide around. He's lost 2 positions. Looks like he's going to lose a 3rd one here to Kyle Busch in the 5. 16 laps into this run.
But it's very early, Larry, and when Casey Kane starts on the pole on a 1.5 mile track, he usually ends up in victory lane.
Tell you what, a new racetrack has a tendency. Oh,
turn
trouble.
4.
Turn 4, got a car around. Joe Nemechek. Here comes Dave Blaney into the wall. 22. Looks like those 2 are the only 2. Blaney just tried to get on the brakes to stop, and it turned him right.
No right front. Has no right front.
Now, Blaney has been Toyota's brightest hope in this young season. He's been the best running Camry at Daytona and California. He's one of only 2 Toyotas to make the field here, and it looks like his day is over.
Yeah, he's having really bad luck.
That's 2 of our guys in the top 12 that have already had problems here before lap 20. Joe Nemechek comes in here in the top 10. We've already had the problem with David Reagan.
This is what you're going to see with the 13 car Joe Nemechek is what we've been talking about. The cars just they just turn sideways all at once, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. See, that car's already stepped out right there. Of course, when somebody runs into you, that helps. That's a different story too.
But Darrell, I think when it stepped out, he had to get completely out of the throttle.
Yeah, he had to get out of the gas, and when he did, Boyer ran into him. And
Boyer was in the throttle, and Nemechek was not.
Right, and Blaney was trying to miss him and got on the brakes and turned him right into the fence.
Jamie McMurray, Matt Kenseth drive by and miss it, and so does Scott Riggs. But it all happens in a blink of an eye.
What's the record for cautions in the first 20 laps?
Over, under, perhaps.
The record for cautions is 10. I know that.
Now,
in 400 miles.
Slob, I looked it up so you wouldn't have to.
And I'd almost be willing to bet we've got a lot of guys at the front of the field. They have not been to pit road yet. We're actually almost halfway through a fuel run. I would say pit road will be pretty busy with these guys at the front of the pack right now to get fuel, possibly maybe 2 tires. Saw a lot of that yesterday, 2 tires.
I don't think at this point I'd get any tires. I'd just get me some gas.
Get that tank full.
You saw Dave Blaney walk away. He will be the 4th driver to go to the garage where Dick Berggren awaits.
And Casey Mears was involved in the second of the 3 crashes we have seen in the first 17 laps of this event. Why so many crashes in so few laps?
Well, our crash is because Robbie Gordon put us 3 wide and a track that's only got 2 grooves with tires are probably the most difficult that we're going to drive all year long. And you're going to see a lot of that today. I mean, there's just no grip at all. I mean, everybody's having a hard time keeping a hold of their cars. I mean, the reason why I crashed, though, is because Robbie made the move that he did. I mean, I was already on the outside of Ward Burton, and last minute Robbie threw it in on the bottom and lost it and got into Ward. Feel bad for Ward, and I feel bad for ourselves in the National Guard because we had such a good car, yesterday in the Busch Series and got caught up in something that wasn't our fault. And then again today, I felt like the guys improved on the car. It felt a little better at the beginning of the race there than it had in practice, and just get nothing to show for it just because of an early move that just didn't need to happen.
And behind him, they are working on the car to try to get him back on the racetrack. Mike?
Thanks, Dick. Now, Darrell, if the problem is the tire won't grip, I'm sure folks are wondering, why not just slow down a bit?
Well, yeah, if everybody would agree to that, that'd be fine, but that's why they call this a race.
Right.
You try to go faster than the other guy. That's all you try to do.
3 caution flags in the early going.
Hey.
Welcome back to Las Vegas. 21 laps complete. Most of the drivers making pit stops under this caution and a variety of strategies. Watch Jeff Burton upper right take on fuel only, while Elliott Sadler gets tires. So does Kyle Busch. And pole sitter Casey Kane tires as well.
I think if I like my car, Larry, just give me some fuel. Don't touch it.
I'm not surprised to see Casey Kane in the 9 get tires there, as you see him and his teammate Elliott Sadler, Kyle Busch, get right side on. Remember, Casey was getting where he was not very happy with his car. They also made a chassis adjustment on that 9 car.
Steve Burns.
Right side tires only for Elliott Sadler, Mike. There was a lot of debate about what to do with the car. Elliott said he was just a little bit tight getting on the throttle. They ultimately decided to do nothing but change right side tires. Krista.
Well, Steve, no tires for Kurt Busch. They made one small adjustment to the right rear of the Miller Lite Dodge. Kurt said after qualifying, before qualifying, actually, they made wholesale changes. It was like shopping at Sam's Club. One small adjustment, no tires for Kurt Busch. Dick Berggren.
Jeff Burton relied on his crew chief, Scott Miller, on that last pit stop when he took fuel only. Miller's goal, try and get his driver in and out without tangling with Montoya, who is pitting in front of him. And they did it brilliantly. 2 cars just missed, but that's all it takes, Mike, just missed.
Thanks, Dick. 7 drivers stayed out. So the first driver who made a pit stop, that's Kurt Busch in the Penske number 2. There he is, and you see he comes out 8th overall because the first 7 drivers stay out.
And those top 7, including Jimmie Johnson leading the race, they were on pit road about 12 laps ago. Lap 10 the last time we had a caution.
One of those 7 is Kenny Wallace, who started this race pretty deep in the field.
Well, that was the advantage of pitting early there on that first caution. You're going to find yourself at the front sooner or later with all these pit stops.
He's now the 7th place car. Jimmie Johnson trying to three-peat in Las Vegas and defend his win in this 400-miler, is the race leader as we go back to green to start lap 24.
So the old blue deuce there, the 2 jumped to the outside, got around Kenny Wallace in a hurry. Car looks pretty fast, coming up off 2 with a lot of steam.
The cars that stayed out: Jimmie Johnson, Mark Martin, Dale Jr., Tony Raines, J.J. Yaley, Jeff Gordon, and Kenny Wallace.
Well, those cars that changed just 2 right side tires, they're making their way back up there pretty good. You see Elliott Sadler in the 19, Kyle Busch in the 5. They drove by Kenny Wallace, and they're battling each other.
Tell you, Kyle Busch got Elliott in the 19 loose coming off a 4. The 5 car looks like he's hooked up pretty good, Larry.
That car was good yesterday in practice.
Close call for Elliott Sadler coming off turn number 4. He's in the 19.
What's the old 5 car? Watch Tony get up. Tony the Tiger get up under him. And whoa!
And when you're carrying speeds like that and you run up under the back of a car like that, it takes the air off that rear spoiler, gets him loose. You'll see it right there. He runs up so fast.
See, that's one of the things. The reason the hard tire is not happy on these cars is because a year or so ago they cut the rear spoiler down to take away downforce. Now you got a hard tire with not as much downforce as you like to have, and it's just hard to hang on these bad boys.
Dale Jr. keeping close tabs on Jimmie Johnson. Mark Martin, the Nextel Cup point leader, right there.
Boy, Kyle Busch in the 5, he was all the way on the apron here at the start-finish line. But as you said in your ride and drive, DW, there's no out of bounds here.
No out of bounds, and he made it 3 wide across the line here, and he is on a mission.
He is.
That boy's possessed. I mean, he wants to win this race so bad. And if he can't win this race, he wants to beat his brother so bad. And, you know,
take a look at this right here.
They just come off the corner
but
here.
Look who he's passing. He's trying to pass his brother in the 2.
And he's not forced on the apron. Nope. He just went down there on his own accord.
And I guarantee you there's not a lot of grip down there on that apron.
Whatever it takes.
You got to love it, though.
He's got another one, Jeff Burton.
Like we've always said, you can slow them down, but you can't speed them up.
An even faster track next week, Atlanta. On Fox.
Oh, yeah. But I tell you, Kyle Busch caught his teammate, Jeff Gordon, in that 24 so fast, he had to jump on the binders getting into turn 3.
It's like Jeff coming off turn 2 either didn't get off 2 very well or knew he was coming and was looking for a place to hide.
See J.J. Yaley there, the 18 car. I know he's up in this position a lot because of strategy, but give a call to J.J. and his crew chief, Steve Addington. This is a backup car. He crashed the minute he went on the racetrack in practice on Friday.
Yeah, very first lap, wrecked the primary car. Shrugged it off, put the backup car solidly in the show, and here he is racing in the top 10. AT&T Singular Virtual Crew Chief answer. You think it's Juan Pablo Montoya who will emerge as the most successful rookie of this season?
Pretty good guess, since 2 of those guys aren't even, you know, Riggins in the garage and Ruderman didn't make the race.
Right now, Montoya back in the 20th position in the 42 car.
Steve?
Mike, just to give you an update on Kyle Busch in that 5, he described his car on that last caution as just dancing a little bit. Their adjustment, they made a small chassis adjustment and took just 2 tires.
Well, Steve, he's the fastest car on the racetrack right now, and he is driving that thing like he stole it.
Oh, yeah, she's dancing on it. He's doing the tango, too.
You know, guys, I talked to his crew chief, Alan Gustafson, and Alan also looked after the Busch car yesterday, and he said they learned so much about things like air pressure and what to do with these tires. That's one advantage of running a Busch race.
Yes, sir.
Especially doing it as a crew chief, too.
And Kyle just keeps on coming. I mean, it's like Mark was in 3rd gear. I mean, that 5 car is flying.
He's a good 2 to 3 tenths, and in some cases more, faster than the other guys in front of him.
He's running 31.30s, and the guys he's racing and passing are running 31.50s and slower. But, guys, he's had this type of a race car the first 2 races, just didn't capitalize on it at the end.
And that's what it's going to require, Larry. Patience. Darrell, let's have a lap here with Dale Jr. in 2nd place.
Junebug's liking his car. I heard him yesterday. He was complaining a little bit about it, but I think they've helped a lot. Turn 4 right there. It's a little tough. You get a little tail happy off that corner. There's that apron we're talking about. A little free off 4. We've heard that a lot. Right out next to the wall. Matter of fact, you'll scrape it every now and then as you swing off into turn 1. You want to keep that left tire on that white line right there. That's where all the grip is. Wide open up off the corner. You see 100%. Down this nice 9-degree bank straightaway into a 20-degree bank turn. Great transition, a lot of speed.
And Darrell, he must not be as loose off turn 2 because he didn't have to play with the throttle as much as you see him playing with it off of turn 4.
Car's got a great attitude, looks good on the racetrack. I'd be happy too.
Well, there's only one thing on this shot, Darrell, not to be happy about. Oops. That minus 2.4 seconds, because that distance is somewhat growing. Jimmie Johnson is leaving Las Vegas.
It's early, really early.
Oh, yeah, we'll stick around.
Jimmie Johnson. I drive for Hendrick Motorsports, and I'm from El Cajon, California.
NASCAR Nextel Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Budweiser, the official beer of NASCAR, and proud sponsor of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the number 8 car.
Spinning down the front straightaway, rookie Eric Almirola, the Joe Gibbs development driver, who qualified this number 80 to race today, and might have just made a little light contact, maybe with the outside wall as the car snapped around coming off 4.
Yeah, he just turned 4. It's got an odd transition to it, and the car will snap loose. We've heard a number of drivers complain about loose off. He was loose off, but it did hit the wall pretty hard once it came around with him.
Started in go-karts at age 8 and has impressed everybody ever since to earn this opportunity to race a Nextel Cup.
Just gets around with him. We've seen that time and time again. If he'd had the wheels turned, well, no, that was not anything he could do with that. That was a good job to minimize the contact.
Nice shot from our ultimate picture cam. And we're under caution once again.
Pretty good timing, Larry. I think the guys were needing some gas.
Well, that was the longest green run that we have had right there. We're going to see everybody on pit road. It's been 17 laps since that restart, so I think you will see feeding time. The only car left on the racetrack will probably be the pace car.
Almirola will be able to continue. Right front damage, but nothing severe. 4 cars in the garage. David Reagan came back onto the racetrack after repairs from the first caution of the day. There's the big long sweep from turn 4 onto pit road. Dick Berggren.
Jimmie Johnson's crew chief, Chad Knaus, has called for 4 tires, and he has communicated that message to the pit directly in front of him. So Johnson will have plenty of room to get out. Krista.
4 tires for Jeff Gordon. His exact words on the radio, it's like ice out here. He is super loose everywhere. Steve Burns.
4 tires as well for Kyle Busch, Krista. He said that his car is a little bit antsy in the back. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment. Kyle Busch a little late exiting heavy traffic on pit road.
I'll say.
Well, again, we had essentially about 38 cars on pit road. Now, Matt Kenseth, who was running in the 22nd position, he stayed out. He led that lap. He'll get those 5 bonus points, but he'll be in this lap, I'll guarantee you.
Matt Kenseth, the California winner, out in front. We're under caution.
HD TV, powered by DLP. It's amazing. It's the mirrors.
Packed house in Las Vegas. What a great destination to come to a race. 170,000 seats plus more than 10,000 in the infield. It's been sold out for more than a week. Wow. Here's our DLP amazing moment. March 12th. Last year, Jimmie Johnson led only the last lap in the closest Las Vegas finish ever, 0.045 seconds. He beat Matt Kenseth and then went on, finished 1-2 with Kenseth in the Nextel Cup Championship.
Look who our leader is. He just added 5 more Nextel Cup points to his tally. Our points leader, Mark Martin,
who said in the pre-race, I have no plan to run Bristol right now. I have no plan to run the whole season.
That tune is changing. It's losing momentum.
He left a couple of cracks in, in the door there.
Speaking of changing, change your volume control. At 44 laps, we're going to restart. We'll let you crank it up and enjoy the sounds of speed on Fox. Eric Almirola has come to pit road as Mark Martin extends his lead, and J.J. Yaley got a great restart, picked off a couple of spots, 2 positions to move up to 4th.
And Elliott Sadler in that 19 car, he just drove by Kurt Busch in the 2 to take the 2nd spot away behind our leader, Mark Martin.
Montoya cool up close to the wall. Not the first time he's done that today, but he did not make contact. Loses 1 spot, continues. Reed Sorensen, the 41, as Jimmie Johnson tries to work his way back up through.
Man, the 41 got all sideways right there in front of that crowd. That was almost a mess.
There's Kyle Busch again. The apron again.
He's going to have an apron. They're going to give him an apron when this race is over with.
Riding with Carl
Great job. Way to use your head.
In the 99 and the 13th spot right now.
Wonder who that was. Boy, those cars dance off of turn 4. Holy moly.
You're backing the throttle or trying to pick the throttle up so early in the middle of the corner, actually before the center of the corner. You're just carrying so much speed, and the racetrack just runs away from you.
Yeah, it flattens out as you come off that corner. As nice as it is off of 2 and into 3, it's just a little difficult off 4.
Elliott Sadler closing in on the leader, and J.J. Yaley closing right up on 3rd and 4th behind them.
I tell you, Elliott and that team, they did a good job of adjusting his car up on that last pit stop, because he's pretty fast right now.
Yaley caught this group easily. Casey Kane came down, closed the gap so that Yaley couldn't make the pass. Now it looks like he's settled into 5th to ride for a while.
You know, before that caution, we had a ton of Chevrolets out of the top 15. We got a battle for the lead now between a Dodge and a Chevrolet. Elliott Sadler, he's been working that high groove. He'll definitely take the lead away from Mark Martin. He'll lead this lap of the 19.
All clear, pulling away again by 2.
Steve, that looked like a gimme. Looked almost like Mark let him have the lead.
Absolutely, Mike Joy. I spoke to crew chief Brian Pemberton for Mark Martin this morning, and he said their game plan was to be conservative. He said if we're going at 90% and we can see the lead at the end of the race, we'll have a shot to win this race. And by the way, guys, he's running a conservative setup, kind of an old school setup chassis-wise. Mark Martin's going to float that car into the corners instead of charging it.
See, that's the thing that Mark's so good at, and I think that's why he's helping this operation. He doesn't mind all the tricks. He sticks with what he knows, the basic, what we've done for a long time setup.
The Dodges all qualified well, and at one point in this race, they had 7 of the first 8 positions.
Now they're sitting there with 4 of the top 6, and I was saying before the caution, it was mainly all Chevrolets up at the front. Right now we got a Chevrolet battling a Dodge. You got Tony Stewart in the 20 car. This is a battle for 20th. Tony has not liked the combination here since he unloaded on Friday. Boy, Montoya in that 42.
He's got a problem. You like that.
He's got his hands full.
And I like the spotter making the explanation. The car behind took the air.
Wait, I can't get up to the gas. I can't get in. Hit forward. Hit forward. Just hang on there best you can, bud. We'll get her fixed up.
Crew Chief Donnie Wingo there.
3rd place race.
Nice and smooth. It's a good place to run right there. You got a guy about 2 or 3.
Casey Kane, Kurt Busch just ahead, and J.J. Yaley filling up Kane's rearview mirror.
And when you're way too loose, like we're talking, you heard Montoya talking about being way too loose, there's just no place to hide. You got a car behind you, you got to let him go, and it's one right after another till you end up at the rear of the field.
See, Jimmie Johnson in that 48 car creeping back in the picture was leading this race before that last caution. Right now up in the 6th position. Talked to Chad Canals, his crew chief, this morning. I said, Chad, to win this race, who do you think you really have to beat? He said, Larry, what I saw yesterday, we just don't need to beat ourselves. I think we're good.
Yeah, you got to beat the track today. This is a race to track. Do like Mark Martin did. Somebody gets to race and you move out of their way and let them go. Get them at the end, maybe. This is a thinking man's race. This is where you got to sit there and think about what you're doing, not get carried away racing people.
Matt Kenseth fighting heavy traffic, Dick.
And he is one of the thinking men for sure right now. Kensington 30th position. He started 37th, the worst qualifying run he has ever had here at Las Vegas. Now, last week, everything went well for Kensington. He won the Busch race. He won the Nextel Cup race. But today, he has his hands full. On lap 40, he told the crew that his brakes were almost used up that early in the race. On lap 51, he told them the car was so loose, it was almost undrivable.
You know, Mike, Matt won this race from furthest back anybody, 25th spot in 04, so starting back is not a problem for him, as we've seen in the past.
Got this battle for third place shaping up there. Jimmie Johnson in the 48 car goes to the inside of Casey Kane in the 9. The 2 in the 9 running the high side. The 48 right around the bottom.
And I think you've already seen an improvement in the cars. Those first few cautions, you get in, you work on your car, you make some adjustments, then you can do some more serious racing. And here comes Mark right back underneath Elliott Sadler off turn 4, taking a look. Think he might be able to make the pass. Elliott returned. You see how Elliott returned to favor, and here's a battle for third.
That 48 car, that car is working good right around that white line, right around the bottom, Jimmie Johnson. But yes, like Mark Martin said, go ahead, Mr. Rabbit. You go out there and lead you a little bit. You'll come back to me.
Well, yeah, and it could have very well been a deal. I mean, sometimes there are deals made and we don't even say a word. They're just things that you understand. That guy wants to lead a lap, you let him. When I'm better than you are, I'll go back by you, and you let him.
Because one thing you won't often see is Mark Martin overextend his race car. But he's back out front now. The Nextel Cup point leader, Mark Martin, leads for the second time today.
Good to have you at the UAW-DaimlerChrysler 400. It's NASCAR on Fox from Las Vegas. The rookie, David Reagan, on the second lap into the outside wall, bringing out the first caution. A flurry of cautions. We have had 4 so far in this race. This was the second. And you see that Robbie Gordon in the 7th car kind of igniting with Casey Mears and Ward Burton. Later, Mears would complain and say that there's just no grip on this track, something they were worried about coming in. And then Dave Blaney, after Nemechek got a little bit loose, it appeared, Clint Boyer into him. So the 4 cautions, Jeff Hammond. We've had 5 leaders, 6 lead changes. Jimmie Johnson currently leading Elliott Sadler. Of those cautions, we're getting ready to go through our longest green flag run. Have they learned something here? Have they settled down?
I think so. That's one thing about today. You've got to be able to compensate. You've got to keep working with your race car and talking to your driver about how to deal with this racetrack. We said early on, this track is very unforgiving, and you saw that in the first 50 laps. 4 caution flags, guys running at each other, cars just spinning around unexpectedly. You have to keep working on this race car and get it better balanced.
Daytona 500 winner Kevin Harvick, as you look going to look at Jimmie Johnson. Harvick has dropped back. What's going on with him?
I think right now he's got one of those race cars. He just can't hang on to it right now, and he's got to be smart. He's running 4th in the points right now. He needs to get this car better, and I'm sure Todd Berrier and the rest of the RCR team will be working to get it better for him for the end of the day. He's probably going to lose a lap here. You can see Jimmie Johnson closing on him rather quickly.
And Mike, Jimmie ahead of Mark Martin, Elliott Sadler, Kurt Busch closing as well.
Jimmie Johnson's lead, Chris, now 2.9 seconds as Mark Martin and Elliott Sadler swapped positions back and forth. Let's show you the pass as Johnson took the lead.
Well, I can tell you why. Jimmie Johnson's running 31.8s. All these other cats are running up in the 32s. I mean, he's in a league of his own right now.
And that's about where he was before that last caution came out. But just to follow up with Jeff Hammond on Kevin Harvick, I'm just not sure that Todd Berry, his crew chief, the 29 car, they're going to be able to get that car better. They have fought that car tooth and nail since they unloaded. They told me this morning since their teammates Clint Boyer, the 07, Jeff Burton, the 31, was pretty good, they just mixed the 2 setups from those 2 cars and put under the 29. But Krista, obviously it's not working. Looks like he's about to go a lap down here in about a lap or 2.
Go ahead, Kristen.
Yeah, sorry about that. On that last stop, Kevin Harvick said that his car was, quote, scary loose. They made an air pressure and a wedge adjustment and put 4 new tires on. But right now, the car is just not coming to him. In fact, his teammate Clint Boyer had a little trouble on that last stop as well. They thought that they had lost a cylinder. They switched ignition boxes. Turns out one of the cylinders just got overloaded with fuel. He's fine now.
Thanks. Mixing setups, Larry. You know what happens when you mix chocolate and strawberry ice cream together? You know what you get?
And that would be?
I don't know either, but here, you eat it. It's not too good.
Well, when you start mixing setups on race morning, that means you're desperate.
Right. 70 laps complete next time by, Steve, and Mark Martin's having a super strong run here, second place.
Yeah, Mike, just wanted to let you know one of the other things Ryan Pemberton shared this morning was that Mark Martin gives him very precise feedback. Seconds ago, Mark said the car is neutral. Do not take any air out of the left rear tire. Ryan responded 10-4.
And you know what other desperate people do? They pit 10 laps early after they get lapped. You see Kevin Harvick, 29 car, already on pit road.
And actually, Goodyear's got these things set up where you can only take air out of the left side tires.
Boy, here's a battle. Kurt Busch, Jeff Burton, J.J. Yaley. And they're all fighting for fourth place.
Yeah, Darrell, they mandate the right side air pressures just to help the durability of them. So, yeah, you can only really go down on the left side.
I think they recommend 34. Minimum is 30 on left sides, which is not as low as we'd like to go, I'm sure.
Hey, Yaley's had a great start to this season. 12th at Daytona, 13th at California. He is 8th in the point standings in that green 18.
He's got his hands full right now with the two Busch brothers, though. Kyle Busch, the 5, just drives right down the bottom of the racetrack and just goes right by him.
That's when you get, that's bushwhacked right there.
Well, a couple of laps ago, he almost got bushwhacked by Big Brother. That'd be Kurt in the 2. Watch this.
Coming off turn 4. Kurt got loose, but corrected it. Yaley was right there at Kurt Busch's quarter panel. Pretty close call. No harm, no foul.
The Busch brothers again side by side. Las Vegas natives. They grew up racing at the Bull Ring, the quarter-mile track that sits just outside turn 1 here.
You know, it's one thing to race your teammates, but it's a big motivation to race your brother, especially at this place.
Jimmie Johnson again padding his lead. It stands at 3.9 seconds over Mark Martin and Elliott Sadler. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
Our next up, Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Paramount Pictures. Presents the new film Shooter. Opens March 23rd in theaters. By Shea, the most wins in NASCAR history. An American Revolution. By Singular, now the new AT&T. And by Lowe's, proud home of Jimmie Johnson and Team 48.
Green flag pit stops have begun. David Gilliland, all the Evernham Dodges. Jeff Gordon is in, Dale Jarrett, and here comes our leader, Jimmie Johnson. Dick?
He has had the fastest car of the day so far. Johnson going to make an adjustment to the chassis on this stop, and they're going to take tires as well. They will not change this car very much, and we don't know a lot about what they do on pit stops because Chad Knaus, the crew chief, hands out notes.
Well, instead of talking on the radio and letting everybody know, interesting. Jamie McMurray is in as Johnson comes out. Jeff Burton has made his stop. Robbie Gordon in. John Wood badly needed a stop. Got one. Commit cone. Oh,
boy,
Kyle Busch
I tell you, it like to
made it
big. Kurt Busch in the 2 car just about got to the back of his brother, Kyle Busch.
Gotta change all 4.
Because he slid them. That's Kurt Busch telling Roy McCauley, I slid my tires. You have to change all 4.
I don't know what was going on with Mark, but he just about stopped getting on pit road.
Krista.
The plan is 4 tires and fuel for Kurt Busch. He said he needed 4 because his tires, quote, felt like basketball shoes. Steve.
Krista, Mark Martin is on pit road. A very small adjustment, a quarter turn in the left rear. Mark saying his car is pretty neutral.
And, of course, the interesting thing here, all these green flag stops, this is when we get those mistakes of drivers speeding, come on to pit road or leaving pit road, or mistakes made on pit road by the crews.
The Gibbs cars are in. J.J. Yaley and Tony Stewart. Ryan Newman has led a lap for the first time today.
If you're going to have a problem, it's going to be leaving pit road because you can't get on pit road too fast or you'll wreck.
Denny Hamlin is in as well, so all 3 Busch cars, or rather Gibbs cars, 3 of the 4. Eric Almirola in a part-time ride is the 4th. Here's Steve.
Mike, before the race, Tony Eury Jr., crew chief for Dale Earnhardt Jr., told me that Dale's concern was not feeling the right rear tire enough down in the racetrack. Service is done for Jr. He's headed to the racetrack.
Ryan Newman pits, and that hands the lead to Bobby Labonte in the Richard Petty number 43. Juan Pablo Montoya running second.
And there we have one already penalized for entering too fast. Paul Menard, the 15 car. He'll have to do a pass-through penalty, Krista.
bad pit stop for the 41. They actually had a gear change problem, and then they just had lots of trouble down here. They're trying to jack up the car. They're having all sorts of problems. So the plan was to make a 4-tire change. He's stuck in gear. Reed Sorensen actually had a terrible, hard hit in the Busch race as well. He went to a local hospital last night to get checked out. He is fine, but this is a devastating stop for the 41. He's been loose all day.
Saw him motioning frantically. Drop the car, let me go. Montoya's in, and so is Labonte. And the lead will change again. Dick?
Now Montoya's in for a tire change and also for fuel, Mike. And he is certainly struggling trying to figure out how to make these pit stops. Fortunately, he has nothing behind him except an open pit area. The result of having had a terrific qualifying effort. Right there, he stalled the car, but got it going again.
Reed Sorensen will get a pass-through penalty. Too fast on pit road. And we cycle through green flag stops. Jimmie Johnson is once again our leader. Now the third place car on back, 4 of them all came on pit road at once, and this was almost a pretty fine mess.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure, but watch Mark. He really gets going slow. He's not just, he's way down. See how slow Mark's going, and here these guys come. Mark was going to be sure he didn't speed getting on pit road. It bottlenecked those guys up behind him, almost run over him.
And Kyle couldn't pass him because he would have hit the commitment cone entering pit road, and that would have been a penalty.
Well, this morning in the drivers' meeting, the drivers were asking to move the cone out so that they could move it down further because they didn't have a good entry in there. Man, that's just so close right there.
That was a close call right there.
The drivers are wanting to move the cone.
Got to change all 4.
They're wanting to move the cone down some because it's so close to the exit of where you come on the pit road.
And of course, you have to be down to 45 miles per hour as well when you get to that point.
And there's a lot of distance down there that they could have moved the cone in a little bit and made that a little easier for them.
But that cone threw a lot of drivers a curveball yesterday in that Busch Series race.
You see right there is the cone, and then the drivers wanted to move it on down here somewhere and give them a little bit more room to get slowed down when they got on pit road.
Dick?
Now, this is the right front tire off Greg Biffle's car, Mike. This is a result of some fender rub. They're trying to haul it off so we can't show it to you. And I can also tell you that inside the wheel from that tire, it is absolutely loaded with brake dust. They're using a lot of brake. And how would you like to be out there at 185 miles an hour with the fender dragging on the tire?
Well, certainly Greg Biffle has had a terrible time here. Blew a tire testing. Blew a tire when he came back for the team test. Had trouble yesterday in the Busch race. This has been a mean racetrack for him.
But, Darrell, we've seen with our telemetry, guys will use a little bit of brake. But if you're using a lot of brake, you've got a race car that's not driving very good.
Yeah, you use the brake. It's just like on your street car. You hit your brake, you watch your front end fall down. That's what they do out on the racetrack. Use the brake to set the front end.
Right now, Greg Biffle's still on the lead lap in 23rd, but he's about 3 seconds from being lapped by our leader, Jimmie Johnson.
And there's our leader, Jimmie Johnson in the Lowe's Chevy.
There's one thing a new racetrack has a tendency to do sometime, and that's one car just stink up the show. One car will be so much better than everybody else's that he just runs off and leaves you.
But why is it the same car that threatened to stink up the show last year? Jimmie Johnson.
Well, he stunk it up by winning by about a foot last year.
Don't forget to enter our Domino's Hot Lap competition. Pick one of those 5 drivers that were the fastest qualifiers and see who leads at lap 100.
As a matter of fact, Mike, thinking back, I don't believe he led, but just at the start-finish line last year.
Right.
So
it was 2 years ago he tried to stink up the show.
Maybe a couple years ago, yeah.
Correct.
This is a battle for 6 right here between Kurt Busch and the 2-car, Jeff Gordon in the 24 car, and Carl Edwards in the 99. Jeff Gordon didn't qualify very good, but they actually got pretty happy with that race car yesterday at the hottest part of the day in final practice.
You know, I know Jeff's driving the Nicorette car, so it's a lousy pun, but going into the corner, that thing is smoking.
Yes, it is.
I'm not sure why, but
if I had to drive off the corner 190 miles an hour, I might start smoking.
No, the car, Darrell.
There was
smoke from the car last time he went off into turn 1. Let's look again this time. Could have been just a little bit of tire smoke.
I think it was tire smoke.
Jimmie Johnson, your leader, at 90 laps, 177 to go in Las Vegas.
NASCAR Next Star Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Allstate, the official insurance sponsor of NASCAR.
Jimmie Johnson still leading now by 6.5 seconds over Elliott Sadler. Today's Allstate Good Hands driver, Juan Pablo Montoya. Watch this. No claim adjuster needed on that one. Allstate, official insurance sponsor of NASCAR.
Need to make note that Ward Burton, after being involved in that crash back earlier in the race, he went back out on the racetrack in the 4 car, but they have black flagged him. When you go back out after a crash, after repairs, you have to maintain minimum speed. He was not maintaining that minimum speed, so they did black flag him.
The Hendrick team seems to have it figured out here. Watch, there's the 5 of Kyle Busch. And Jeff Burton and Carl Edwards close up on him. Rick Hendrick has Jimmie Johnson leading. Jeff Gordon in 4th, Kyle Busch in 5th.
The interesting thing was that's Jeff Gordon at the bottom of the screen just going by. Kyle Busch drove right up beside of Jeff going down the front here into turn 1. And man, all of a sudden it's like Jeff said, I don't want any part of this, and drove off and left him. I think something must have happened to Kyle's car.
But all I know is going back to that 24 car right now, he's running 32.20s. And our leader right now is running 32.40s and 50s as Jeff Gordon in the 24 has moved up to the 4th position.
Yeah, that 48 car. Oh, there was Kyle Busch. Something's happening. Something's happening to his car. He just about spun it out.
Something's happening to it. He's about to pass Jeff Burton and climb back up into the top 5.
Actually, I think Burton in the 31 just went by him, and now Kyle Busch has his hands full of Carl Edwards in the 99, Kevin Harvick in the 29, a lap down.
See his car step out off of 2. I could see the number on the right side when he came off of 4 that last time.
That's not good.
That is not very good, and it won't last very long.
Kurt Busch pulls up on the back bumper of his younger brother.
And it happened all at once. I'm telling you, he'd go run to Jeff Gordon, and all of a sudden Jeff looked like he just drove off, and then he started having trouble. The 5 car did.
So this was our Domino's hot lap, lap 100. Most of you picked that Casey Kane would be the first of those 5 drivers to the start-finish line. Elliott Sadler only got 9% of the votes, but he gets the pizza. You're all entered to win the ultimate fan experience at the Michigan race this August if you participated, and we congratulate Elliott Sadler.
He's actually a little bit quicker than our leader Jimmie Johnson right now. Right now just a little over 6 seconds behind Jimmie Johnson, but Jimmie Johnson right now fighting a lot of guys trying to stay on the lead lap.
I don't think they'll hold him up very long. He just is able to turn that car down where other people can't. You see him there. He turns down in the middle of 1 and 2. Not quite able to complete the pass, but he's back in the gas much harder and quicker than the other guys seem to be.
Martin Truex Jr. in the 1 car right now back in 24th position. So when Jimmie Johnson gets by him, we'll have 23 cars on the lead lap after 102 laps in the books.
Got to be impressed with the 19 car. This is the best run they've had for a while.
Steve can add.
Yeah, Mike Joy, Elliott Sadler just told crew chief Josh Brown, I feel like my race car is out of the racetrack on entry and exit. Josh Brown said if we get 2 tires, we'll make a chassis adjustment. If we take 4, we'll make an air pressure adjustment.
And Darrell, I think what a crew chief has got to do today, and you talked about this in the pre-race with Jeff Hammond, he's got to tell that driver, look, I know you're not happy with your car. I know it's sliding around, but you are the 2nd best race car. You are the 3rd best race car. He's got to be a little bit of a salesman.
Sadler around Ricky Rudd, whose Ford has gone a lap down, running in 30th. And Jimmie Johnson putting Martin Truex into the free pass position. Truex fighting to stay on the lead lap.
And Larry, just like you said, I mean, it's not a matter of how good your car is. It's how good your car is compared to everyone else. And that's really what I need to know as a driver. I'm complaining about my car, and you need to be telling me, dude, you're better than 40 other guys.
Yeah, like Elliott Sadler, Josh Brown, you're running 32.50s. The leader's running 32.70s right now.
Look who's popped up into the top 10, Clint Boyer. In Richard Childress's 07. Christie, he was the fastest car in practice yesterday, and now he's in the top 10.
Yes, he was. And in fact, in the last few laps before that last pit stop, he was the fastest car once again. Remember, he had that problem earlier, but they got that all worked out. Now, like a good blackjack dealer, he has just had to shuffle his way through the field. He is doing just that. The car is just where they want it. In fact, he said earlier in the race, he was really good center and up off, and he said that is where we are going to wear them out all day long. Caution is out.
Johnny Sauter.
He pounded it off of 4.
Yep.
Get down there. Get down there.
Sudden impact.
You're around.
Blasted booty, just too loose, dude.
Oh, I know. Okay, just plug it to, just ease it on in there. Just ease it on in there. Get it in the pits.
No brakes, so it's definitely got a brake problem.
10-pole.
He's hit the wall so hard it's probably knocked the brake line loose or something. He's not going to be able to stop.
You can see brake parts coming out from under the car.
I'm sure it broke the rotor because he pounds it real hard. You see he gets the back end around and then it snaps right into the fence. And it was a hard lick.
Or Reed Sorensen in the 41 just getting by.
There he goes right up top screen. Hard right with the hit the wall with the right front tire.
I know this wasn't a very timely caution for Johnny Sauter, obviously, but boy, it was a very timely caution for guys like Matt Kenseth and Greg Biffle. They were just about to go a lap down here when this caution came out.
And that's partly on the 17 car. Remember, he stayed out and led that lap. He restarted at the rear of the field on that last restart, and he almost paid the price for it.
Now, of the Dodges that qualified up front, 3 of them have gone a lap down: Montoya, Stremme, and Riggs. Montoya will get the free pass on this caution.
And that's the thing the Dodgers have fought in the race. They all seem to qualify well, but they redid the nose, redesigned the nose, thought they had that in-traffic problem fixed, but maybe not.
In that fight that Martin Truex was putting up with Jimmie Johnson on the 48, it paid off because he stayed in front of Jimmie Johnson. He was actually there when the caution came out. But I'm going to tell you, look right here. These guys were going at it and going at it hard. Truex trying to stay on the lead lap in the 1 car. This was coming up off of turn 2 shortly before the caution came out.
And at the moment of caution, the last scoring loop in the track they had passed, Truex was ahead of them. Dick?
Jimmie Johnson pits out of the lead, and just before he came into the pits, he told his crew chief, Chad Knaus, that the car is real loose. And they're going to tighten it up. Krista.
Some audibles being called down in the 24 pit. It was going to be a 4-tire stop. Instead, rights only. Steve.
Right side only for Elliott Sadler. He said, don't make my race car too tight. On the other hand, Mark Martin says, no changes. 4 tires, boys.
And Mark will get out second behind Jeff Gordon and ahead of Elliott Sadler.
Mark is sitting right where he wants to be. He's not pushing. He's just riding along.
A little surprised at some of those right side changes only because we were almost to the point where we were going a full fuel stop there.
Well, do you want new hard tires, or you just want the hard tires you got on the car?
Good point. Let's go to break.
I thought you were in Vegas last year. Keep it up, come on. I think I know your sister, Candy. You get it? Candy cane? It's funny. Since Jimmy's number is 48, does that mean he's twice as good as you, Jeff Gordon?
Vegas. Hometown.
I think I know your other sister. Her name is Sugar. Get it? Sugar cane?
Gotcha.
You got him.
That's right. Take it. Yes. You've been bushwhacked, son.
That guy could open for Carrot Top, who dropped by. Kyle Busch, of course, in the hunt with Kurt Busch. But Jeff Gordon, your leader. And, Jeff, we've got a little problem with Jimmie Johnson. He's trying to repeat. He just got sent to the rear because of a pit violation. Take us through what happened.
Well, what happened was as they came down, they were finishing up the left side tires. And you'll notice when the left rear tire changer pulls the tire off, it comes off, it kind of lays down, gets up, and rolls away. They were trying to lay it down, but it gets away from him, rolls back toward the halfway part of the pit box, and it cannot be, that cannot happen. All the tires and the equipment have got to be on the back half of a pit box. Otherwise, it's what they call a tire violation, and he had to do a pass-through because of that. There he's coming back down pit road right now to serve his pass-through penalty, which will put him probably at the very back of the pack.
He's led the most laps, 61 so far today. We've had 9 leaders, 14 different lead changes. We're under our 5th caution. We have 3 drivers who are out of the race right now.
They're going to come down and go ahead and put some gas in it. They realize that they're going to be at the back of the pack anyway, so they might as well go ahead and take advantage of it.
And Jeff Gordon currently leading from his 36th position. And right now, Mike, we're, of course, with all the cautions on a very slow pace for this race on this resurfaced track.
Well, it takes, thanks, Chris, it takes me back to what Chad Knaus told you, Larry. The one thing we've got to do today, who you got to beat? We can't beat ourselves.
Absolutely. And Darrell and I were talking during the break. They have had some pit issues pretty much both the first two races. They had some issues at Fontana. May very well Dick Berggren have cost them the race at Fontana there late.
It probably did. Certainly when I was listening to the radio at Fontana, that's what Jimmie Johnson said. But in fairness, this is one of the very best pit crews in all of big league auto racing. They don't make many mistakes. Just so happens they've made a couple 2 weeks in a row. And Chad was off the box, gathered them all together, and he is absolutely the best psychologist on pit road. And he certainly is telling them, put the past behind us. We've got a lot more pit stops to make this thing up. This is a good pit crew. Don't kid yourself, Mike.
Thanks, Dick. Now, we had a 62-lap run of consecutive green laps just prior to this, the 5th caution flag. We've had 5 for 22 laps, 24 cars on the lead lap. What did we learn in that 62 laps consecutive green flag?
The one thing that I'm seeing is we're getting a report that the racetrack continues to get hotter. And when it gets hotter, it's losing grip. And I think that's a lot what happened to the 5-car Kyle Busch that was so good to begin into the race.
I think the restrictor cell is doing its job. We have not had a tire problem. So 30 laps, whatever's been 40 laps, make a caution, make a pit stop. Doesn't look like we're going to have any tire issues as far as wear or tearing up or anything.
They called the one to go off, Jimmie Johnson, the 48, Chad Knaus. Again, only 13.5 gallons of fuel in the trunk. They continue to come to pit road and top that car off.
A week from today, NASCAR on Fox continues from Atlanta Motor Speedway, the fastest track in NASCAR. Then we go to the high banks of Bristol, Tennessee, and to the paperclip-shaped Martinsville Speedway. All these races 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, all on Fox. And boy, 3 of the greatest tickets in our sport.
Think back to when they resurfaced Atlanta. Set the track record 197 miles an hour. Drivers were screaming, we hate this, we can't go this fast. 2 or 3 years later, what do they say about Atlanta now? They love it.
Love it.
It's their favorite track, and this track will be the same way.
Here's the running order as we get set to go back to green, with Junior 5th, Casey Kane 6th, Yaley 7th, Sterling Marlin, Kurt Busch, and Jeff Burton. Your top 10. Boy, those Busch brothers, they're magnetic today. Where one goes, the other is close by.
They did that all day yesterday, right to the very end.
113 laps complete this time, 154 to go.
Watch these restarts, because somebody inevitably jumps out of line here and tries to pass everybody on the outside. Sterling Marlin did a pretty good job that time of picking up a couple of spots. Hadn't said much about old Sterling, but he's been hanging in there. He's sitting there in 8th place.
He's been in the top 10 most of the day.
Yeah, homeboy doing good.
The 14 car, teammate to Mark Martin.
He doesn't get a spoke in his wheel. He'll be all right.
Sticking a spoke.
Sticking a spoke. Is that what it is? Is it?
I think so.
He got one in it at California 2 weeks ago.
Right now, the first car 1 lap down is David Stremme. He's 5th in line and trying to hold that position to advance on the next caution. Here comes Sadler out of turn 2, right around the outside of Mark Martin.
Ought to be pretty frantic here for a little while. Everybody's fresh tires, made a lot of adjustments. Could get interesting. Could get ugly, too.
Steve?
Mike, a little bit of an experiment for Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 8 car on his last stop. They took right side tires only. They had noticed on the previous stops that the tire wear was very good, so they wanted to try 2 now to see how that car will handle for later in the race.
Steve, there's no question. If you want to find out, you need to find out now and not wait till later on in the race and find out it's not a good science project.
Yeah, I just think when you've got a hard tire like we have here, changing them isn't going to do a whole lot of good.
Turn 4, Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch around in front of a whole bunch of cars. Nobody hits him. He doesn't hit anything. Safe.
We're fine.
Denny Hamlin, the 11, Montoya, the 42, and Joe Nemechek, the 13, who's back out on the racetrack.
All right, come on.
They had to go down pit road.
And David Stremme maintain that position, he'll get back on the lead lap.
And I'd love it. Man, you don't know what it's like to have a car. You're coming off the corner, car spinning in front of you, and you sit there and you got to hold the steering wheel steady. Don't hit the brake. Wait for him to get out of the way.
From Jeff Burton's car.
Watch this. I mean, Jeff just sits here and watch. Now listen.
Still clear. Nice job, buddy. Nice job. Keep coming. Keep coming. Caution sound.
Now Burton got some damage, didn't he?
Got hit in the right rear.
He got damage.
You could hear it.
Yeah.
And you can see it almost right there.
But you just see all these cars are right behind the Kyle Busch, and man, more of them didn't wad up. I don't know. He's working that thing, baby. He's fighting it.
And just remember, before that last caution, he was going backwards, and he told his crew, hey, I'm loose. They changed 4 tires and made adjustment, but still way too loose.
He almost got hit there by both the Yates cars, Gilliland and Rudd. Almost T-boned him.
He wasn't snickering either, was he?
Kyle Busch gets away and gets to pit road. Steve?
Mike, you see the crewman underneath the car, that number 5. Their concern is the left front fender, the damage done to the valence. You see them pulling it out. They've got the hammers there, and you guys hit it right on the head as they continue to hammer. He just got bad loose.
You could see it, Steve, all the way through turn 3 and 4. We saw it riding with Jeff Burton in the 31 car. And that left front fender, it's probably the most critical part of the race car as far as the body, other than that rear spoiler, because that's what makes that car turn, is that left front fender.
And I'm kind of happy about it if I was that guy, those guys there. It didn't hurt it too bad, and I think they may have made it better.
That's the way it's supposed to work.
That's right.
Dick?
Burton's crew was concerned about body damage, Mike, and they did talk about bringing him down pit road. The spotters looked at the car, and they made the decision that the damage was not enough to bring him in. Back to you, Mike.
Burton stays out, and Jeff Gordon is the race leader. It's the first time he has led at Las Vegas since 2003.
Now, you know our theory, and it's always proven to be true, our theories have. Cautions do breed cautions.
And that seems to be the nature of the beast today.
Same thing happened yesterday. Everything got strung out for a little while, a little serious racing. Then they got these cautions coming one right after another. Same thing happened at the start of the show.
And Darrell, a lot of pit stops, as we talked at the top of the show, they breed penalties on pit road. Greg Biffle, who was still on the lead lap during that caution, pitted outside the box. They held him 1 lap, so now he's 1 lap down back in 32nd position after staying on the lead lap the entire race.
I just don't know about poor old Greg Biffle. He just can't get anything right. He and I were going to fly out to Seattle together on his airplane. His airplane broke down in Nashville.
Just not going his way.
Carl Edwards up into the front 4, and then Roush Fenway 99. Been a while since we've seen any backflips.
And he is ready to do one, and his motor coach driver's ready to shave. He has not shaved since Carl last won a Nextel Cup race back in 2005.
Remember what I told you about the poor old coach driver? He's going to cut that with a weed whacker. He's going to start weaving that baby.
See Jimmie Johnson in the 48 car. He's worked his way back up into the 17th position as he battles with Matt Kenseth right now. There you see Greg Biffle, who's a lap down. Jimmie Johnson had that penalty on pit road 2 cautions ago.
Point in the back of the pack, Larry. They were 4 wide coming off turn number 4. And watch, Reed Sorensen catches the wall just a little bit there.
Reed's had his hands full of this car for quite a while now.
Oh, he's right in the middle of a sandwich. Gailey on the bottom, Kane up top. They get by.
Hitting the wall over there didn't help him any.
Yeah, he's just trying to get out of the way right now.
I think that's what happened to him back there. He's just trying to get out of people's way.
Here's Krista.
J.J. Yaley in the Interstate Battery Chevrolet having a great run today. It was been a little free in, a little tight off, but they made a 2-tire change on that last stop. And you know, J.J. told me earlier this week, if you can start the season well, you don't have to get in a panic situation chasing the points. That is their goal, to just stay solid and consistent, keep themselves in the top 10. Conservative, the name of their gambling game.
And Chris, the one thing I've noticed, they've made a lot of improvements on their pit stops. I know they made major changes during the offseason, and it's showing up when he hits pit road.
And I got to give JJ an attaboy. I think he's changed his attitude about a lot of things, too. He's more focused, and he's not pushing so hard.
And I was concerned because he said going into this season, I'm going to be more aggressive this year.
Yeah, but I think he's doing it with the control that he didn't do before. He was out of control in the past, but I think he's got to handle it.
Boy, Jimmie Johnson in a pack. He took him 3 wide to get past McMurray, and now underneath Bobby Labonte and Clint Boyer.
Watch him go. Golly.
Johnson's 48, penalized for a pit road violation. He restarted about 24th. This last restart, he was 18th. He's climbed to 14th.
And the man right now that hated the tire, hated the track, hated everything about this place out here, Tony Stewart in that 20 car, he is working his way toward the top 10. Right now sitting, he's going to move into the top 10. He just went by Jeff Burton, 14th.
Second place, cousin Carl is coming.
Wow, look at Carl go.
Way to stay after here. Nice and smooth. That 24 will come to us.
Krista is in Carl's pit.
Okay, you got plenty of room, plenty of cushion.
You guys are talking about how long it's been since we've seen a backflip. 40 races to be exact. That is the last time Carl Edwards has been to victory lane. He said he was really looking forward to this race because of the test they had there. He was the highest qualifying Ford, and he has been running solid all day. Carl Edwards also took 2 tires on that last stop. Steve Burns?
Krista Elliott Sadler in that 19, he took 2 tires as well. He just told Josh Brown that his car has gotten really tight in the middle. Josh Brown calmly said 10-4, it's not the problem with 2 tires. The problem is we took too much of an air pressure adjustment out of the right rear tire.
I think Carl and Bob Osborne, his crew chief, they were so good together 2 years ago, and here goes Jimmie Johnson right by the 12-car Ryan Newman. They were so good together. Then they got apart last year, and I think they lost some of that magic they had, but I believe they have the ability to get it back.
Jeff Burton, yesterday's winner in the Busch race, trying to extend the streak of weekend sweeps. Kevin Harvick in Daytona, Matt Kenseth in California. Jeff said he'd have no problem extending that streak today, and thinks he has a car good enough to have a chance to win.
If you want to make a little wager, I'd say wager on that 31 car.
Jeff Gordon, who hasn't led here since '03, is out in front of Carl Edwards by 1.6 seconds.
I'm sitting in a hot rod today.
NASCAR Next Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Chevy, the most wins in NASCAR history. An American Revolution.
Jeff Gordon's Chevy leading Carl Edwards by 2.4 seconds. It's Big Bad, it's Victory Red. Go to foxsports.com/Silverado. Get your chance to meet Dale Jr. and drive away in his all-new 2007 Chevy Silverado. Well, Jimmie Johnson's found his way into the top 10 and then some. He's passed Jeff Burton for 7th place.
Now, didn't he have to go to the rear of the field?
He did.
And then he's all the way back up to 7th?
He is.
That's a pretty fast car, isn't it?
It is. It's an expert analysis by Darrell Waltrip.
Well, I've been accused of being the master of the obvious, so.
That's okay.
And Darrell, he's done it within less than 30 laps. Bobby Labonte, you saw at the top of the show during our pre-race that he crashed qualifying. Bobby Labonte in a 43 car had to start 42nd. His Kurt Busch gets dead sideways.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, Bobby's up here battling for the top 12 right now.
We have any more Good Hands awards?
Maybe we could borrow one from Atlanta and give it to Kurt Busch.
That was nice.
Wow.
I know he had his hands full there for a second.
So have a look at this from our aerial view. Watch the two.
Pushing, and then all of a sudden when he gets out there and he got to stay off of the 66 there, he has to put a little extra wheel in, the back end pops.
How much of an effect, Darrell, does that 43 tucked right up under him have to losing the rear grip?
He's in the sucker hole. Got one on the outside, got one underneath him.
And look who's back. Kyle Busch is back to the front after his spin to bring out a caution flag. And there he is battling his brother once again.
They've been going at it all weekend like this.
I mean, and the trash talking started Friday on Speed Channel.
Yeah, verbally and on the racetrack.
Krista?
Well, you guys said pushing. How about this for a little bit more specific? He said it's pushing like a dump truck and I can't drive it. That's the quote from Kurt Busch.
And Krista, I never figured out how bad a dump truck pushes, but I know I finally figured out it means really, really bad sliding the front wheels.
Larry, you just never was much of a pickup man. That's your problem.
I was more of a Cadillac man. But I think what we're seeing a lot of cars that were good in the beginning of this race. I think this racetrack is really starting to go through some changes, and you're going to really have to get aggressive with some adjustments on these next few pit stops.
I think these guys are waiting for the sun to go down.
Johnson trying to break into the first six. It's a Chevy leading, Ford second, Chevy's third and fourth, then two Dodges, Sadler and Kane, and then Jimmie Johnson and Jeff Burton.
Do need to update some of the victims from wrecks earlier. Casey Mears in the 25. We also mentioned Joe Nemechek in the 13. Remember, Joe came in here in the top 10 in points. Those cars are back out on the racetrack. Johnny Sauter, Eric Almirola, Dave Blaney, and Ward Burton out for the rest of the day.
Well, particularly Joe, because he wants to try to be in the top 35 at the Bristol race to get that 13 car into that exemption.
Well, these two Dodges and these two Chevrolets, they are going at it and going at it hard right now for the fourth position. But that 48 will prevail.
I was going to say, whatever if I'm going to follow somebody, I'm going to try to follow that 48.
And I think that's what Jeff Burton in the 31's been doing for about the last 15 laps.
Yes, and Jimmie Johnson's now climbed up into fifth place. Let's cycle around and find our leader.
There he goes by the line now.
Johnson's teammate, Jeff Gordon. So Jimmie is 9.6 seconds behind Gordon.
I tell you, you can tell Jeff is driving pretty hard, because every now and then a big fume of smoke will come out of that right front, like that tire is rubbing up in the fenders. Hazing just a little bit, but that's from packing that thing down in turn one really hard. Just watch him as he goes down into turn one. Don't notice it anywhere else, but boy, when he bails it off into one, every now and then you'll see a haze of smoke come off that right front. See that? It's right when he turns off into the corner.
Plus, it's very bumpy down there. And I tell you, we're actually just a few laps away from what's going to be some green flag pit stops.
There's Carl.
That's the gap first to second. 3 seconds from Jeff Gordon to Carl Edwards. 122 laps to go. Pit stops on the way. 4 tires for the leader.
And I'm getting a report that what they did here, Steve Letarte, he put what we call scuff tires on this car. As we see Carl Edwards in the 99, he's hitting pit road. But what they're doing, they're putting tires that already ran in practice. That way they know the characteristics of that set of tires.
Krista.
That is exactly right. That was the plan all along for Jeff Gordon, was to save those scuffs. Carl Edwards doing the same thing, a 4-tire stop and some more fight. A left rear adjustment for Carl Edwards. Dick Berggren.
Jimmie Johnson said his car needed more grip, and so they put 4 tires on the car. They also had to work on the right front fender. He banged into somebody out there. Steve.
The 01 is on pit road, Dick. Now, they had been discussing 2 tires or 4 tires. Dale Earnhardt Jr. will come in right behind Mark Martin. Crew Chief Brian Pemberton wanted 2. Mark Martin said, no, let's do 4. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to take do a small chassis adjustment, just a quarter round of wedge out. Otherwise, 4 tires. You see, Dale Earnhardt Jr. said he is happy with the handling on his race car. 4 tires and an air pressure adjustment. They took 2 tires last time on that number 8.
Both of Roger Penske's cars have been in, Ryan Newman and Kurt Busch.
Kurt Busch's problems continues. Too fast coming in, speeding. That will be a pass-through. We've been talking about it the entire race. Mistakes on pit road, especially when it comes to speeding.
I want to mark that 8-car comment. He's happy with his car. That's the first time I've heard that in 4 days.
Matt Kenseth has stopped, and Sterling Marlin.
Not just his car, any car I'm talking.
Marlin gave up the lead to pit to make his stop, and Bobby Labonte becomes the leader for the second time today. Now he too will come to pit road.
Now this will hand the lead to Kyle Busch in the 5 car, but Kyle Busch, David Stremme, Denny Hamlin, Montoya, Raines, and Truex, they'll be able to run about 8 to 10 laps further. They pitted the last time the caution was out, Dick Berggren.
Yeah, Bobby Labonte has been running very, very well with this number 43. This is a backup car. He crashed during his time trial, and they've done a good job on this car, getting this hot rod ready to go. Krista.
Down in Reed Sorenson's pit, remember, it's been an awful day. They have had to fight their way from the back. They just made a right tire change. Now moving around to the left side, Reed Sorenson, that hard hit in the Busch race, trying to redeem himself. The Dodges that were very strong in qualifying, looking for a good performance for the 41.
Dale Jarrett makes his stop. He's the lone remaining Toyota in this race. And Kurt Busch has made his pass-through penalty.
You know, Mike, I commented early in the show about the drivers wanting to move that entrance cone down some to give them more room to get off the track and get slowed down. I would have thought that that short distance, they would have had a hard time speeding getting in. I thought it'd be more like getting out, but everybody's getting caught trying to get down off the racetrack and into that short slowdown area right there.
It's a battle between teammates, Casey Kane in the 9, Elliott Sadler in the 19. They've already made their stop. This is a battle for 14th right now. Now here comes some of those guys that pitted on the last caution. Montoya in the 42, Gilliland in the 38, Raines in the 96. All these cars, including Ricky Rudd in the 88, they pitted about 8 to 10 laps after most of our leaders.
Pulling out on the top.
Dale Jarrett will do a drive-through penalty for too fast entering the pits as we watch Tony Raines stop.
Yeah, after I thought about that, I see where the problem is that cone is so close to the track that they can't get slowed down to get on pit road.
And a pass-through, a drive-through penalty means you just have to come back on pit road, maintain pit road speed of 45 miles per hour. You do not have to stop in your pit box.
Dick?
Yeah, Darrell, you were talking about the location of that cone, and Jeff Gordon asked in the driver's meeting if the cone could be adjusted, if it could be moved out a little bit further for just the reason you're talking about. NASCAR promised that they would look at it, but apparently, at least as far as some drivers are concerned, it didn't get it done. Steve Burns.
Dick, Kyle Busch is coming on to pit road. You see Kyle Petty to your right. There's Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch still saying that his race car is loose. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment on his Chevrolet. As you see, Martin Truex Jr., who has inherited the lead. Left side tires on for Kyle Busch again. Air pressure adjustments only on the 5.
Tell you, Larry, the kind of day that Jeff Gordon's having right here and the start he's had to this season, I would be looking out for the old 24 car, no matter what color it is.
Yeah, comes in here third in the points, 2 top 10 finishes in the first 2 races. A little momentum on this side. And baby on the way.
Yeah, baby.
Greg Biffle getting right side tires, a lot of gas. And that will cycle us back to where Jeff Gordon is once again the race leader.
Tell you what, give a call to Kenny Wallace in the 78 car. I know he's about to go a lap down, but this team made their very first race. They missed the first 2 races, and he sat here and held on the lead lap for almost 2/3 of this race. So good run for this group right here.
109 laps to go in Las Vegas. Jeff Gordon back out in front of the field. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
103 laps to go here in Las Vegas. In case you tuned in a little bit late, Elliott Sadler, one of the first 4 cars starting that were Dodges. He led for 17 laps. Jimmie Johnson passing Mark Martin, who led for 13. Then Jimmie Johnson, who led the most laps, problems in the pits.
Yeah, they had a left rear tire get away from him. Created a penalty for him, but came down pit road, and now they've recovered.
Jimmie Johnson working his way back up to 5th. currently with Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers. The Hollywood Hotel and Casino when we come to Las Vegas. Remember, what happens in Vegas is broadcast live on Fox from Vegas, so be careful. Don't miss any minute of it. All right, some of the storylines coming in as we recap. Gordon leads Carl Edwards right now. The track, the conditions, the resurfacing, how has that played out?
Well, so far, I think the track has shown you have a couple different grooves out there. They've been able to go side by side. It's very fast, as we talked about early on, but I've seen some great racing.
What about the tires? We've heard some drivers complain about the grip or lack thereof.
And it's still the same way, but the key thing right now, Chris, is the teams have adapted as well as the drivers.
Points leader Mark Martin leaving a window of opportunity. Hey, I'm going to stick to my plan, but we'll see what happens. How well has he run today, and might that change things?
Still up there in the top 10 right now, putting pressure on everybody. I think he's going to be up in the points, if not still the leader when we leave here.
You addressed how critical this race was for Dale Earnhardt Jr. as well coming into the day.
Oh, he has definitely had to have the kind of race of a lifetime. So far, he's third, and he's looking really strong.
And Jimmie Johnson led for a while. That violation knocked him back, but he's worked his way back up to fifth. Still a threat here to pull this out.
He's still a threat here. All he needed to do was get in position, and they're right back where they need to be.
And Johnson hoping to win 3 in a row here at Las Vegas. Mike, Darrell, and Larry, something that has yet to happen before on this track.
Thanks, Chris. Third place side by side. You wonder, Darrell, now yesterday, Jeff Burton used that outside line because he knew it was his own.
Nose in the center a little bit.
All right, that was Junior talking. But Jeff Burton used the outside to get around Kyle Busch at the end of the Busch race because he knew Busch would not give him the bottom. He'd have to take the top. That's the same way he went around Dale Earnhardt Jr. So is there a priority groove here?
Well, you don't want to run the outside unless you have to. It's a little treacherous up there. If driving a corner a little too hard, car pushes up, you get into loose stuff like we've seen some of the other guys do, better chance of hitting the wall. So you kind of save that in your back pocket as a place I know I can go to if I have to.
Well, Jeff Burton may be hunting the priority groove right now, but Dick Bergman, he may be hunting something else here shortly.
Yeah, he's hunting some voltage is what Jeff Burton is looking for, running in third position. He's only charging around 9 to 11 volts, so the crew has another battery ready to go. Scott Miller, the crew chief, has said the next yellow flag. Well, guys, you ready to cue the battery animation? They're going to change the battery.
And Darrell, I'm almost beginning to question more and more why more teams are not running a second backup battery. That happened in the Busch race at Fontana. One teammate had a backup battery. He was able to go to it. One team had to change the battery when they had alternator problems.
Yeah, the batteries are run today. They're real small. They don't weigh a lot. I think that'd be just a real insurance policy. Particularly, I can just remember Junior Johnson. We always thought about things that would cost us a championship. And a battery failure was one high on the list.
And one reason we wouldn't do it before, the batteries were so big and heavy, but as you said, it's almost half the size of the batteries we used to race.
What about weight, though, Larry?
Well, that's what we're talking about. Yeah. They don't weigh that much anymore.
Right. Two of the batteries today almost weigh what one used to weigh.
Okay. Here's our final AT&T Singular Virtual Crew Chief question of the day. We've been batting it around up here. Mark Martin is the point leader. Should he come to Bristol? Should he go on and race the full season and try to win the championship that's eluded him for so long? Text your answer and let us know. We'll share our thoughts with you when your answers come up.
See Jeff Gordon, our leader in the 24 car.
Oh, turn 4.
Caution down, caution.
Paul Menard in the 15 car.
Boy, that's a lot better spin today than he did when he was qualifying.
Left front damage.
Got a little left front damage.
Didn't hit very hard at all, but yeah, just flat lost it.
Menard coming up out of the NASCAR Busch Series after having a good bit of success in open wheel. Brings out the caution flag. This would be the 7th one of the day.
Just see. Gets up there and the car just gets out from under him. Doesn't really hit the left front that hard, just kind of scrapes it.
Ah, that was nothing. This is Friday.
Oh, yeah.
Qualifying.
He gets air here. Yahoo!
The reason this happened, he ran his first lap good enough to make the field, but he misunderstood his crew chief telling him the time and thought he had to try to go faster. He kept it off the wall. He made the race. Casey Kane thought that was pretty cool. Of course, Kane ended up on the pole. And Menard made the race.
Yeah, he knew he needed to run like a 90, and they said 90. He thought they said 40, And he said, buddy, I got to step it up here about a half a second. That didn't quite work out.
He stepped it up, and it stepped out from under him.
He's had a pretty eventful weekend, though, running the Busch Series race as well as the Nextel Cup race.
He's going to make an old man out of his crew chief if he keeps going.
No pun intended, right?
That's right.
Tony Urie's senior, Paul Menard's crew chief.
Pit road will be open this time under the 7th caution flag of the day. Lead lap cars only can pit on the first lap. The pit lane is open during a caution. Dick?
Well, with everything shut off, Jeff Burton's car is now showing 12 volts, so the decision has been made to not change the battery. And it may not be a battery problem at all. It may be an alternator problem that's not properly charging the battery. This will be a 2-tire change to try to fix a car that is too tight on entry. Krista.
Another decision change for the tire change for the 24 right sides only. Steve.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. on pit road in the number 8 car. When the caution flew, they debated 2 tires or 4. Tony Urie Jr., the crew chief, said, how about 2? Jr. said, are you sure? He said, how about 4? 4 it is for Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Well, he's one of the few that took 4.
There's our DirecTV race off pit road. Kyle Busch climbs 7 spots in the order. Think he won't be a factor before the day is over?
Oh, yeah.
Well, here we are, man. Right in the heart of Sin City, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Working the 7th caution flag at Las Vegas, there's the brand new infield. Everything at this track from the retaining wall in is brand new, except this one garage building. That's all that was left standing. They leveled everything else and built this brand new neon garage complex right in the center. You see the haulers lined up here, and then the entrance to the garages, the upper deck is fan area, and everything in the middle of that garage area is a fan zone, and it's really quite a neat experience.
A diamond in the desert. I mean, that's a really neat look.
Clint Boyer got the free pass on that caution flag, and we're set to go back to green flag from our DLPHD TV cam.
Jimmie Johnson spun the tires there, Larry. That opened the door for Kyle Busch to jump on the outside of him.
Yes, it did, but he looks like he's going to slam the door on it. That 48 car is just so strong up there in the 3rd spot right now.
Whoa, Jimmie Johnson got sideways because he almost got hit from the left side. That was a moment.
It's a moment to remember.
Who was that to the inside of him? I believe it was the 7.
Yeah,
Robbie Gordon.
Robbie Gordon. Like Robbie had a little problem over there. See it overhead here.
Jimmie Johnson's the 4th car on the outside.
I think that 7 gets
Third
loose.
car, excuse me.
See, the 7 got
yeah.
loose down under him and kind of bounced up into him.
Everything turns out okay.
I believe our little buddy in the 5 car, he is still just hanging on to that thing.
Darrell, they must be getting happier with it because they took fuel only that time. They did not do any tires at all on the 5 car Kyle Busch.
I bet he's not going to like that, Larry. He's really backing up right now. Looks like he's got his hands full.
Talk about Carl Edwards as our Ford bold move of the day. Edwards started 13. He's running the top 5 much of the day, currently in 2nd place. And for most of the race, he has been the highest placed Ford in the event. Fords have won 5 of the 9 that have been run here in Las Vegas.
Your car's running good? Yeah, tell me about it, bud. That 5, he's been back and forth, hit or miss, but if he's on, he's real quick, too.
Well, I can tell you right now, he is way off. He's in big trouble with that car.
Steve, what about Kyle Busch?
Mike, he is in big trouble. He just told crew chief Alan Gustafson that he may have a tire going down.
Yeah, he just slid back out of the top 10. Dale Earnhardt Jr. just went by him. There you see Tony Stewart, the 20, going by him as well.
Dick, what about Stewart? We've not seen much of him today.
Well, you're liable to see a good bit of Tony Stewart. Right now, Stewart is running in the 12th position. He started in the 25th spot with a car that wasn't very good at all. On every pit stop, except the very first, where all they did was put fuel in the car, on every other pit stop, they have adjusted Tony Stewart's car. And right now, they've got that car adjusted so it is very fast. And I wonder if he's going to like the tires and like the racetrack if he has a great finish today.
Well, he had a great finish yesterday. He finished third, and I think he had a little bit better attitude about it. I love Tony Stewart, though. Don't ask if you don't want to know.
That's exactly right.
Jeff Gordon is 1.4 seconds ahead of Carl Edwards with 84 laps to go. Jimmie Johnson, Jeff Burton, Mark Martin, all Chevys, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Casey Kane, his teammate Elliott Sadler, Sterling Marlin, J.J. Yaley, and Dale Earnhardt Jr., the top 10.
Great run for Sterling. He just continues to hang in the top 10 along with Yaley. Those two guys have really done a great job today.
You know what? This is a good run for Jamie McMurray right now in that 26 car. Right now, he's sitting there in the 14th position. He has not had a top... I would say he's loose, but he's not had a top 15 finish in 16 consecutive races, so he's working on ending that streak today.
There's nothing that'll make your voice go up an octave or two when you're loose in. I'm telling you.
At over 190 miles
190 miles an hour, and I'm loose in.
Coming off turn 4. You can see, Jamie, you do not want to turn back to the right here. That means she's loose.
Yeah. This is a little ways down the straightaway left, little ways down the straightaway and left, not any rights.
Let's have a look at our singular AT&T question, the final one of the day. And we'll weigh in on whether we think Mark Martin will be in Bristol. Only 31% of you think that he will. You know, last week I would have said no chance, but, you know, his answer keeps getting a little more vague each time the question's posed.
I felt the same way, Mike, but when our guys talked to him in the pre-race, I'm going, oh boy, this answer's changing just a little bit.
I'm gonna hedge my bet, Darrell. I say if we leave Atlanta and Mark's leading the points, he'll be at Bristol. Yeah. If he's not leading the points, pressure's off.
If he's leading the points, Bobby Ginn will find a way to get him to race Bristol.
I just want him to either use the rocking chair we gave him or send it back, one or the other, because I could use it.
You need one?
I could use it myself.
Mark Martin is currently 5th, 5 seconds off of Jeff Gordon's lead, with Carl Edwards, Jimmie Johnson, and Jeff Burton in between. 80 laps to go on the newly high-banked Las Vegas Speedway in the DaimlerChrysler 400.
Star Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Allstate, official insurance sponsor of NASCAR.
UPS delivers the chance to manage your own free fantasy auto racing league. Go to foxsports.com. Play. Jeff Gordon still your leader with 74 laps to go. He's 2.5 seconds ahead of the second-place car, which was Carl Edwards and is now Gordon's Hendrick Motorsports teammate, Jimmie Johnson. Edwards is 3rd, Jeff Burton 4th, and Mark Martin rounds out the top 5. Time to go downstairs to Jeff Hammond for this week's State Farm Safety Report.
We've seen so many times drivers walk away from vicious accidents, just like David Rudiman did last week at California, or 2 weeks ago at California. The biggest reason has to be the Hans device, recently used and developed by NASCAR to tie the driver's helmet to his shoulders into this cockpit. All this stuff attaches so when you hit hard, it keeps your head from going forward. And what you do when you put the driver inside the car is ease it back. The Hans device is covered over by the seat belts. You pull them down, you latch that, pull it down nice and tight. and all of a sudden it ties not only the head to the shoulders, it keeps the driver secure inside that cockpit in case of a vicious accident, keeping them much safer, much safer. Mike?
Thanks, Jeff. 7 caution flags today, and all of them for crashes. No problem with the Sunoco 260 GTX unleaded fuel. No fuel worries, no debris cautions, 7 accidents on track, and 7 yellow flags. Less than we expected, quite frankly, to be at this point in the race with just 71 laps to go. There are only 4 cars in the garage. Johnny Sauter, Eric Almirola, Dave Blaney, and Ward Burton.
Pretty impressed, actually, with on this run particularly. All the cars are staying pretty bunched up. One end of the speedway is pretty clear right now. The other end, all the cars are down here all bunched up and racing pretty hard right now.
The problem for most of the field, Darrell, is the end of the speedway with very few cars is where the leaders are. Jeff Gordon has nothing but clear track in front of him. Jimmie Johnson, a big gap both to Gordon and back to Jeff Burton, who has now taken over 3rd place.
Yeah, I just don't think we can say enough about the run that Jeff Gordon's having today. And the way his year is starting off, this looks like it'll be a big year for Jeff.
Here comes Gordon around turn 3 into turn number 4, and you see it's clear track all around.
Oh, yeah. It's all by himself. His teammates back there lurking a little bit, but not anything like he was earlier.
But I know where his other teammate is. We're about 18 to 20 laps away from a pit stop. His teammate Kyle Busch, the 5 car, who's been going backwards, thinks he has a problem, really needs a caution. Right now, he's only about 9 to 10 seconds from being lapped from his teammate Jeff Gordon.
I got a good idea they won't be doing that. I don't think I need any tires next time.
And, you know, even with that pit stop that we had back on lap 174, they still cannot make it on one stop. We actually had some guys that came to pit road, topped off of fuel, and we got the one to go, like Matt Kenseth. Still would be a stretch to make the rest of this race with 68 laps to go on just one stop.
Jeff Gordon with a 3.5-second lead now, with 68 to go in the UAW-DaimlerChrysler 400. Laps to go in Las Vegas. Mike Joy, Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds with you, as Jeff Gordon has had his lead cut to 2.5 seconds by his Hendrick teammate Jimmie Johnson. Gordon first led this race at lap 109, but he has led 75 of the last 95 laps.
Got a good idea that Jimmie can close up some on Jeff. You're starting to catch the back of the field here, getting putting some cars a lap down. That slowed Jeff down a little bit. That's how come Jimmie's been able to make that gain.
Yeah, he's been running about 0.2 of a lap faster. Than that time, Jeff Gordon in the 24 had clean traffic. He ran a lap in the 31-second bracket, the only car in the 31 seconds. We're about 8 to 10 laps away from that green flag pit stop.
Winner of the last race, Matt Kenseth, back in 15th. He and his Roush teammate Carl Edwards, the 2 highest Fords in the race, then Jamie McMurray. Let's cycle you up toward the leader from Kenseth in now 14th. Denny Hamlin in 13th place for Joe Gibbs Racing.
And for the most part, the Gibbs cars, they've kind of really struggled here this week. They just really hadn't got a hold. J.J. Yeley's kind of carried the banner, even with a backup car.
Ryan Newman didn't have a good qualifying run at all. Started this race 39th for Roger Penske. And now he's worked his way up to match his car number in 12th. 11th is Elliott Sadler, who spent a lot of this day in the top 5. Sadler started 3rd, but now finds himself, let's see, in 11th place, but 21 seconds off the lead. Robbie Gordon comes to pit road, involved in the first caution of the race, or second caution rather. Jeff?
Guys, what I'm looking at, and you've been talking about it, here comes our leader on second place on pit road. Don't make a mistake. Right here could be what decides who's going to win today. Because if you get on pit road, get caught speeding, crew makes a mistake, all of a sudden, instead of being right behind the leader, you're going to be a lap behind the leader.
Well, Jimmie Johnson did a good job of stopping the car right where he needed to on his pit stall. The crew has done a nice pit stop that time around. And they know it. High fives.
Here's your leader, Jeff Gordon, coming in. He's going to bring Jeff Burton with him. Mark Martin assumes the lead. Krista?
Nice and easy. That was the instruction from Steve Letarte to his driver, Jeff Gordon. This time they are sticking with the original plan of 4 tires. On the former 2 stops, they have gone with just right sides. This time it is going to be 4 tires for our leader, Dick Berggren.
And Jeff Burton is in the pits. He has had a terrific day all day, running in the top 5, and the crew does a nice stop.
Now, Dick and Krista, I think I can tell you why these guys are going with 4 tires now. If this stays green, they're going to have to stop again with about 12 to 15 laps to go. You don't want to have to spend the time to change 4 tires on that stop. Do it now. Get those 4 fresh tires on this stop.
Kyle Busch is in. Sterling Marlin has made his stop. Jeff Green, Kevin Harvick.
I bet you'll be 4 on this car right now, the 5 car.
Yeah, that experiment didn't work.
Carl Edwards, Mark Martin is in. Kyle Petty. Here's Steve.
Mark Martin says his car is still just a little tight. Mike Joy, 4 tires for Martin. They talked about whether or not to make an adjustment out of the left rear tire. That's what they did. Air pressure for Mark Martin. He's away.
Kenny Wallace, David Gilliland, Riggs, Dale Earnhardt Jr., who is now the leader, also stopping. Here's Casey Kane, Tony Stewart, and Tony Raines in the pit road. Dick?
Well, Tony Stewart's crew has seen everybody else that's fast take 4 tires, Mike. So they're going to do exactly the same thing. Adjustment again on the back of the car. They have adjusted it every single stop, and he is much better now than before.
Dale Jr. getting 4 tires and fuel. Steve.
And Jr. saying his car was snug in the center. Now, meanwhile, we see Casey Kane on pit road. He's been in the top 10 all day, Mike Joy. But in the pre-race show, you heard Jeff Hammond say this track is unforgiving. Casey Kane says his car is so loose, I can't make a single corner. Dale Earnhardt Jr. leaves pit road.
Wow. And how about Clint Boyer? Boyer was the free pass car on the last caution. He just led the last lap, and he comes into the pits along with Denny Hamlin. Bobby Labonte is the new leader. Krista?
Yeah, Clint Boyer has really had a strong car since they've had the trouble earlier. They spent a lot of time on that last stop working on the right front fender, but right now they are one of the quickest cars. Before this stop, they had made it all the way back up into the top 10. Clint Boyer on pit road.
J.J. Yaley, Greg Biffle making stops, and now Bobby Labonte gives up the lead.
I want to go back to what Jeff Hammond was talking about, mistakes on pit road. It took Jimmie Johnson and Chad Canals almost 100 laps to overcome their mistake, and they made it under caution. You make a mistake now, Dick Berggren, you can ride off winning this race.
Yeah, and Labonte's crew almost made one just there. They nearly lost the right rear tire, but fortunately one of the crewmen was able to grab it, and they wind up with a nice stop out of it.
Reed Sorensen and Paul Menard making stops, and that will pretty well cycle us through green flag pit stops. The lead will go back to Jeff Gordon. John Wood in the pit lane as well, making his first Nextel Cup start, and Gordon will be the leader once again.
But Mike, we talked about the mistakes the 48 team made several pit stops ago. They were on their mark then because their pit stop, along with their driver getting on and off pit road, really bit in the lead of their teammate Jeff Gordon at 24. Right now, 0.7 of a second behind Jeff Gordon. There you see the distance.
A guy we haven't talked about all day long, one of the hottest drivers up until today was the 29 car of Kevin Harvick. I don't think we've mentioned his name all day long.
Except when he was talking about how they were not happy with the car and could not find the handle. Harvick is 28th. As Jeff Gordon leads by less than a second with 50 laps to go.
NASCAR Nextel Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by UPS, official delivery company of NASCAR. 4 34 laps to go. Jeff Gordon, who started 36th, his worst start to win a race, 36th at the Talladega Speedway, trying to win here. He won here in 2001. Matt Kenseth won the furthest back in this race when he won from the 25th spot. Our Q Motor Oil race summary. We've actually, for all the hits the track has taken, the criticism, we have set a track record in leaders, 15, and lead changes with an impressive leaderboard. Jeff Hammond, Mark Martin, you got Junior and then Tony Stewart, and we have 43 laps to go.
About a minute ago how important these pit stops are. We know we got another one coming up, and you don't want to make mistakes. And here's one that cost Mark Martin. He comes into the pit, and everything's looked like business as usual. Hits his mark, the team goes to work. But watch as the right rear tire changer finishes up, and he did a great job. They lost a lug nut. He had to stay there, put that on, and what it did, it slowed down the entire stop. Mark was only about 4 seconds behind the leader at that time, but when he came back out, all of a sudden he was 8 seconds behind. But here's a caution. It's going to help equal things up. But for Clint Boyer, guys, that don't look too good for him.
Clint Boyer pounds the wall in turn number 2, and that will put us under the 8th caution of the day, Jeff. Boyer, who was fastest in yesterday's practice and who came from a lap down to come back and lead this race, is now going to limp back.
It's junk. Go to the garage.
Yep. I'd say it's that dreaded lack of grip. Just got down in there, and right where you want to rotate the car and make the turn, just jumped out from under him.
And Mike, he just had went into the top 10. He was running 10th the last time by. Remember, that's another car came in here to the top in the top 10 in points. Now he'll be in the garage here. Came in here 6th.
There's his crew chief, Gil Martin. Gil says, "Dad, come."
Fast in both practice sessions yesterday.
I think I remember back to Kansas City or Chicago, one of those 2 races last year, where he had a really bad, fast car and had an incident very similar to that late in the race.
Now here's what this caution does, boys. It's right there on top of the window that will get us to the end of the race. So this pit stop right here, I go back to Fontana, California. The pit stop that Matt Kenseth, the 17 group, had, you know, played a big role in winning in that race. This race could be won right now on this pit stop on pit road.
Well, there's some guys that have started to make some noise here late in the race. Casey Kane's back there in 8th place. Dale Jr.'s 7th, and those guys, and Tony Stewart, this caution's going to close them up. Could make them factors in this race now.
Jamie McMurray will be the recipient of the free pass.
We know Casey Kane loves this kind of racetrack, and we haven't heard much from him today. Start on the pole. This could be the opportunity to get back up there and race for the lead.
And Darrell, it's only been about 12 to 15 laps since they were on pit road. The strategy will be interesting too. I would say with most of these guys getting 4 tires, we may see some fuel only. We may see some just right side tires. I bet we'll see a lot of fuel only.
Well, maybe, but if I was watched the 5 car, I don't know if I'd gamble on that or not. How about it, Dick?
Well, they've got 4 tires sitting on the wall for Jimmie Johnson. Whether they actually put them on or not is another matter. 2 for sure, and 1 trying to get away. There goes another one trying to get away. Krista.
The adjustment Jeff Gordon's team made on the last stop, good and clean air, but tight in traffic. They're going to free it up and let her eat with 2 tires. Steve?
It's going to be 2 tires only for Mark Martin. No other adjustments to his Chevrolet. 2 tires only. Ryan Pemberton said pack it full of fuel.
Jeff Gordon will win the battle off pit road in the 24 car. The 31 car will come off second, Jeff Burton.
So once again, a less than perfect pit stop for Chad Knaus's crew and Jimmie Johnson.
Man, they got tires going everywhere.
But they knew what they needed to do that time.
Our Nextel Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by the auto parts experts at AutoZone. Get in the zone. AutoZone. By Budweiser, the official beer of NASCAR. This is Budweiser. This is beer. And by Subway Restaurants. Subway. Eat fresh.
Atlanta, one of the fastest racetracks on the circuit.
Here they go. Gordon got loose in Torben. Torben by inches. What a race. What a finish.
Tony Stewart scores his first Super Speedway win in over a year. Bobby Labonte scores his 20th career victory. Dale Earnhardt Jr. wins the Golden Corral 500.
It's going to be another one of those fantastic Atlanta finishes. He wins. Already.
the second win of his career. Golden Corral 500.
Celebrate the good times, boys.
Yes, Pim.
High speed and always exciting. Next Sunday, the Cobalt Tools 500 on Fox.
Oh, I don't know at this
Big
point.
weekend at Atlanta Motor Speedway, Trucks, Busch, and Cup, and they've got a 3-day all-encompassing family-valued ticket down there. And you need to come, because Atlanta, that speedway is so fast, and it's a great place to see NASCAR racing. Key the Nextel here and talk about how Nextel helps NASCAR and NASCAR fans get things done. Well, who made the call of the race? Because we had 2 tires and no tires and 4 tires and packet full of gas, and maybe we'll have to stop one more time. And there's a lot of different ideas about what happens here on out.
Well, I'm going to go with the 24 team, Steve Letarte. You know, for the most part, most of the guys at the front of the field went with 2 tires, but you know what? That 24 pit crew, they were getting it done like Nextel.
Yeah, right now I'm thinking if there's any way possible I can make it to the end, and I guess there isn't without some cautions. So I would be gambling on coming down pit road and getting me just a little gas at the end of this thing.
Which right now, Matt Kenseth and Martin Truex Jr., they have already topped off. But, Darrell, I really believe we're in that window now with these cautions we've got before this restart. I think they can go to the end.
Well, that's the call of the race, going to the end.
I'm going way outside the box, and I'm going to go with whoever talked to John Wood and got him calmed down. His grandfather, Glenn Wood, was one of NASCAR's first stars. And here he is, the grandson, running his first Nextel Cup race. And to hear him during the week,
they're showing you on TV.
so much pressure on this young man's shoulders because of the family legacy to live up to. Here he is in his first Nextel Cup race in the 21, the famed Wood Brothers 21, and he's getting it done. He's given a good account of himself, drove a good race, good clean race.
Yeah, you know why it's a good race for him? We hadn't said a word about him, I don't think.
And he's still out there
going. And he's still going, and that's a good day for a rookie.
You are right. Krista.
Big problems possibly for the 24. Jeff Gordon just came on the radio and said, guys, I think I have a flat. I think it's a left rear. That's the leader.
Oh, boy. Should have taken 4. I knew it.
Oh, crap. Craps. Excuse me.
I don't know, Jeff.
It doesn't look soft.
That's bad news. Things go from bad to maybe worse, Krista.
Junk on the tires. These guys are just stressed down here. All these crew guys are up on the edge of their toes. Jeff Gordon says, man, we're going to go for it. We're staying committed, and we're going to gamble.
And here's what they're talking about. When you go out there after making a pit stop, and that's the reason they weave these cars back and forth, is the tires will actually pick up rubber and things like that, and it will make the driver feel like he's got a flat tire. Especially since they didn't change the left sides. The left sides are hot, and they're picking that stuff up.
Oh, yeah, hot tires, just like, I mean, it just picks up everything it rolls over. And it'll feel flat for a little while. Matter of fact, we may see it on a restart here with the spin in the tires.
It's big, it's bad, it's Victory Red, and you can register to win Dale Jr.'s Silverado and meet Dale at foxsports.com/Silverado.
Larry, one thing we haven't talked a lot about is air pressure buildup.
And you will get plenty of it.
It's been a tough weekend for Toyota. Only 2 of the 7 cars qualified, though A.J. Allmendinger gave a heck of an effort on his second lap and was the last car bumped from the show. Dave Blaney crashed out. He has been the best running Camry this season, and Dale Jarrett, who started 43rd, currently runs in 34th. And we're getting set for the green. It'll be 35 laps to go. Chevy's at the front. Jeff Gordon, Jeff Burton, Jimmie Johnson, Mark Martin, Dale Jr., and Denny Hamlin. Green flag.
Carl Edwards in that 99 trying to get a restart to the outside of Denny Hamlin in the 11. See it building speed on our Fox tracks.
Boy, the 31 car had to get out of the gas big time off of 2.
And he's going to pay the price because Jimmie Johnson in the 48 had taken second spot away from him.
You could see Burton get on the gas really early in that corner because he closed quickly on Gordon and then
But here he comes back, and you know,
did he ever get a run through 3 and 4 up there in that second groove? He goes back to second.
This is exact what happened yesterday in the Busch race. On the restart, he got a run, and then he got on Busch, and he got sideways, lost a bunch of ground, then he fought his way back.
He's working the high side at both ends of the racetrack. Maybe not quite as good in 1 and 2 as he is in 3 and 4 up there.
Oh, yeah, he'll be rubbing the wall down here in turns of 3 and 4.
Jeff Gordon trying to deny Jeff Burton the weekend sweep that Kevin Harvick and Matt Kenseth have already pulled this season.
My man DW said he thinks it's the year of the sweep.
I'm telling you, looks good to me right now. Certainly Burton's right there.
Jeff Burton told me this morning, I'm not sure I have the best car, but I think I have a car that can get to the lead and stay there. We'll see. Here he comes.
There's horses for courses, and even though they've changed this one, this looks so much like yesterday.
He's going to stay in the throttle, though. They're side by side at the line. Jeff Burton through the high side off of turn 4.
And Jimmie Johnson coming.
Boy, you see, you can tell that Jeff drove in so hard. You see that puff of smoke off the right front. That just tells you he packed her in there.
How about it, boys? Lap 234, 235.
Drive away from him now, buddy. Enjoy the view. Let's go.
Our top 2 just ran the fastest lap they've run in the race.
Enjoy the view.
And this crowd, nearly 170,000, are on their feet.
Yesterday in the Busch race, Jeff Burton ran his fastest lap on the lap next to the last lap of the race.
But don't feel bad for Jeff Gordon, even though he's in third. Darrell, you talked about it early in the show. Only once in his career has Gordon finished in the top 10 in all of the first 3 races. That was 1997 when he won Daytona and Rockingham and was 4th at Richmond. He did win the championship that year.
But I tell you what, while he's sitting back there in third, his teammates up there battling for the lead. Jimmie Johnson in the 48 car, back to Burton in the 31.
See Burton running the high line. Really helps him get off of turn 2 over there. And here comes that Hendrick horsepower down that back straightaway, and that looked pretty good too.
But this is where Burton is so good. Right there from the middle of turn 3 and 4 off on the high side. And that car is working good up there.
Got to have a good handling car to run high like that as fast as he's going.
And I think one of the big keys to having learned so much in yesterday's race that applies here is that the Busch cars ran the same tires as are used in today's Nextel Cup race.
And I think guys learned a lot about it. Even Darrell talked about it a while ago. Air pressure buildup.
Yeah, that's something we haven't spoken much about. But it's mandated that you have 62 pounds of air in that right front tire. If I'm going to change tires, I'm definitely going to change those right ones because of the air buildup.
3 drivers have each won 2 races here. 2 of the 3 are fighting for the lead. Jimmie Johnson and Jeff Burton. The other is Matt Kenseth.
And these guys are up there battling each other like this, and they're still 2 to 3 tenths faster than anyone that's behind them.
Running this hard with the timing of the last pit stop, will gas mileage be a concern for these leaders?
I'd say right now that's the furthest thing from those 2 drivers' mind anyhow.
Let me tell you what I like, though, or what if I was Jeff Burton, I'd like. Jimmie Johnson's a little better in 1 and 2. The track's getting shaded in 1 and 2. Jimmie Johnson seems to get there a lot, get through there better. But when we get to 3 and 4, coming to the money, right here at the start-finish line, Jeff Burton is a little bit better in 3 and 4.
You know, guys, right now when I look at our top 4, we have our top 3 in points running 2nd, 3rd, and 4th right now. Points leader Mark Martin sitting back there in the 01 car in 4th, the Army car.
Jeff Burton did Kyle Busch the same way yesterday. Kept the pressure on him, sized him up, and passed him on the last lap.
And the point lead is so close that Jeff Burton, if he stays in 2nd place and Mark Martin in 4th, Burton will leave here the leader by 5 points.
It'll still be close going to Hotlanta.
Just see Burton, he runs that so high there. All the distance he loses on the out of turns 2 over there, 1 and 2, he gains back in 3 and 4.
Now, even Dale Jr.'s talking points.
To get the top 35 points. They have no clue. Where am I now? I don't know. If you win it, you know you'll be in it. Yeah, well, we ain't quite good enough, buddy. We just ain't quite good enough. And forward, just do the best you can do.
Uh-oh. That sounded like Burton was flat.
Not a good sound from Jeff Burton's Chevy.
Boy, it wasn't.
Just remember, guys, they talked a while ago about possible alternator problem, voltage problem. That could be a product of that right there.
I don't know. This sounds more like a...
Get the battery ready in case it does quit.
There you go. There you go. You heard Scott Miller
it
tell
went
him.
flat all at once. I mean, just almost more like it lost a cylinder, but it could be just like a power in the battery. He was running really, really hard. Doesn't surprise me if something happened to it.
And by the way, to answer Dale...
We're going to be in good shape there. It had just started to, you know, get setting up.
And to answer Dale Jr.'s question, where he's running right now, he would leave here 27th in the Nextel Cup standings.
That's a far cry better than 40th where he come in here with.
18 laps to go in Las Vegas. Jimmie Johnson, your leader. Here's how he got there. Lap 62 way back then, passing Mark Martin for his first lead of the race, but then pit problems, a tire violation while on pit road, penalized all the way back to 25th for Jimmie Johnson and crew. But Chad Knaus rallied his troops. They made it up. Watch a nice save here by Jimmie Johnson. Talk about a grip, hanging on, and then taking the lead here. 16 leaders, a record, track record, 28 lead changes. Jeff Gordon has led the most laps, Jeff Hammond, but Jimmie Johnson may lead the most important.
He may lead the most important, but right now we got a problem around the racetrack. We got a caution. Casey Kane bringing out our 9th caution of the day. Mike.
Another incident where a driver gets back on the gas and the car steps out from under him. Our pole sitter, Casey Kane, hard in the wall, turn 2.
Exactly what happened to him about this point in the race yesterday.
I would have thought that turns 1 and 2 would be getting kinder to these guys because it's shading down. They're getting a lot of shade on that turn. But you know what it shows? You can hang on to these things for a while, but you just can't hang on to them all day when they're not right.
And he was in a bad situation there, Darrell, to the inside of David Gilliland, the 38.
If you want to know what sucked around means, well, that's what it means right there. He got sucked around by the car on the outside.
Not that Gilliland did anything wrong.
Oh, no. And these cars, they're all pretty loose in. That helps them turn off where you can get off the corner. But, man, he just couldn't hang on to that one. You get yourself in that position, you're hoping the guy on the outside will back off early.
It's the 9th caution flag of the day. Boy, that silence just before the storm is deafening, isn't it?
That's a 3,400-pound wrecking ball right there.
It's not what Steve Letarte and Jeff Gordon's crew wanted to see. Was a caution here with about 17 laps to go. We've got a few takers on pit road.
Well, pit road was not open, but Jeff Burton's got a problem. He had to come in, try to get that ignition problem straightened out. But how about Dale Earnhardt Jr.?
Woo.
Well, this will be a penalty. Pit road is closed. He will have to restart the race at the tail end of the longest line. And this actually could go down to the fact of possibly being restarted with 10 or less laps to go. Would be a single file restart. Huge mistake right here by this 8 car.
Woo.
You can see the red light right there. It's blinking red. That means, and there's also a guy there waving a red flag, but that light is the telltale sign. If you notice, Carl Edwards in the 99, he was going to come to pit road, and probably because he saw the red light, he didn't come, but Steve Burns, the 8, did.
And I know why, Larry Mack. He just told his crew, I didn't even look at the light. I just followed the 31.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, Steve. He wasn't looking at anything. He saw 31 coming. He'd come with him. He doesn't know 31 has a problem.
The other thing, Darrell, is at this time of day, as you come off pit road in turn 4, if you're trying to see that light, you're looking straight at the sun.
Yeah.
And it's easy to see from this angle, but look at those long shadows. The driver's coming straight at it, and it's hard to see from that angle.
A helmet off.
He's headed for the garage.
Load up. Going home.
A lot of things happening with just 14 laps to go in Las Vegas. You're watching NASCAR on Fox. Drop the green flag, and Jeff has the lead going down into turn 1.
Vegas. I think I'll have my bachelor party here someday.
You gotta be kidding me. You're not gonna meet anybody sitting there playing games on your couch.
What's your favorite candy? Junior mints.
Hammond's a car length behind. Hit him! Hit him!
Oh, I don't think you'll be climbing the fence after this one. Smoke.
Down the back straightaway into turn 3. Oh my God, there's a big crash! And I'm hungry. We'll be back right after this break.
For food. Ooh, food.
Been a huge Ford day, but right now, through a lot of pit strategy, coming in, making a lot of adjustments. Right now, Chip Bolin looking after this race car for the 3rd race so far here in 2007. Matt Kenseth up in the 5th position. Roush has 11 wins here total as a car owner in Nextel Cup, Busch, and the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
And for all my little English students out there, you aren't going to get him out of that hat.
Following the race tonight on Fox, The Simpsons, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The winner at 8:30. Family Guy at 9, and the winner at 9:30. Lots in prime time on Fox. But now, what'd you call it, Darrell? Showtime.
Yeah, baby.
12. It'll be 11 laps to go. Can Jimmie Johnson hold off Jeff Gordon and Mark Martin, who've been near the front all day, and surprising challengers Denny Hamlin in 4th and Matt Kenseth in 5th.
Show me what you got. It's showtime.
And we didn't get to that single file restart since we were at 10 laps to go. So these guys, they've got to fight those lap down cars. Dale Earnhardt Jr. restarted back in 13th position in the 8 car after pitting too soon.
Bobby Labonte got the free pass, by the way. As now the front 5 leaders are single file, free of traffic.
Have we had a race this year that we didn't stop the race before it was over? Oh, I'm sorry, I was thinking out loud.
Boy, I tell you, these guys, someone just told them there's about 10 laps to go because they are at it 3 and 4 wide back there. Now, Martin Truex Jr., we just saw him in the 1 car. He's sitting there up in the 8th position. Remember, it wasn't that long ago. He was fighting to stay on the lead lap. There you see Martin in the 1 car.
And closing on the 99 at a high rate of speed. Meanwhile, back at the ranch,
trying to three-peat in Las Vegas. Jimmie Johnson trying to drive away from his Rick Hendrick teammate, Jeff Gordon. What, 6 of the first 7 were Dodges in qualifying with 9 laps to go? All of the front 4 are Chevrolets.
We have 2 Dodges in the top 10 right now. Elliott Sadler back in 10th, and Ryan Newman, you see him right there in the 12th car. He's going to lose the 6th position, but up there in the top 10. Has been there for the most part of the day, top 10 to top 15.
I'll tell you a guy that looks like they made a pretty good call there getting 4 tires is Tony Stewart. He's on the inside back here, nibbling his way right up there. He is on the bottom of the racetrack, nibbling his way right up through there.
Stewart battling for 8th place with Martin Truex. Jimmie Johnson is waving goodbye to the field as the battle rages on behind him, and the laps wind down. 7 to go this time.
Tell you what, we got a battle shaping up for 3rd, though. Denny Hamlin, that 11 car, battling Mark Martin in the 01 car. This is the battle for 3rd with that 11 car. What a great recovery this team has made today.
Well, they have. They were dog meat early, but they look really good now.
Kyle Busch back in contention. He's the 10th place car in the number 5. Closing up on Martin Truex and Tony Stewart.
It's been an up and down day for that 5 car, I got to tell you.
In the 1 car, Martin Truex Jr. right now is a product of a car that stayed out. Tony Stewart in the 20, Kyle Busch in the 5, Elliott Sadler in the 19 right behind them. All came to pit road, got those 4 tires on that last caution.
Dale Jr.'s nibbling around back here too, guys. He's come back to 13th and got some guys right in his sights right now. Pretty good group of them.
McMurray ahead and to the right.
As unlucky as it was for Junior to come to pit road, he got a real break by not having a single file restart.
That's Elliott Sadler just in front of Dale Jr.
And by not having a lot of cars left on the lead lap.
5 laps to go, and Jeff Gordon seems to have nothing for Jimmie Johnson. Johnson's lap time's 1/10 of a second plus quicker than Gordon. Denny Hamlin is 3 seconds back. Here's the gap.
Pretty good day for the Hendrick boys.
Yeah, right now 3 cars in the top 10, including Kyle Busch in the 5 car back in 9th.
Of course, next week, NASCAR's fastest track, Atlanta. More of the same. And plenty of good tickets remain.
And Darrell, just talk about that 48 car. You and I have conversations a lot about this group. You just can't get them down. They crash at Daytona, finish 39th. They come back to Fontana, finish 3rd, and look what they're doing here today.
Yeah, he should. I mean, very easy could have won Fontana. I mean, he had a good car and they had a problem in the pits. But today he's on a rail, man. He's not going to complain about the tires or the track.
120, 3140 behind you.
This battle isn't over. Brian Newman, Tony Stewart, and Kyle Busch, 7th, 8th, and 9th. Tony likes the bottom. Newman likes the middle. Kyle Busch will run anywhere that's paved.
I would think with the 4 tires that the 20 has, he would have the advantage eventually.
Yeah, Ryan Newman, the 12 was another car that actually stayed out. While we're watching this battle, we're just going to update you on Jeff Burton, who came in here 2nd to points. Those guys are still on the lead lap back in 15th here with 2 to go.
Anywhere that's paved.
Look out, look out.
And Kyle Busch was smart enough to know that was not going to work out.
I don't know how many wide that was, but it was 2 wide.
And on the left of your screen for 4th, Mark Martin and ex-teammate Matt Kenseth go at it. White flag.
The white flag's out for Pete's sake.
Oh, shucks.
This is just getting good, boys.
Yeah.
You believe how hard you just can't imagine.
Not bad. I think we'll keep you for a while.
Chad Knaus to Jimmie Johnson. He's going to win this race by 2 seconds.
Can you say 3-peat?
There you go.
Yes, we can.
We got you. Bring her home, dude.
Jimmie Johnson wins the UAW-DaimlerChrysler 400, his 3rd Las Vegas victory in a row.
Cha-ching!
Incredible job. I could not be... 50 wins. 150. Great job, everybody. I could not be prouder. Could not be prouder. Jimmie, you're awesome. Stevie, you did a great job.
Hendrick Motorsports' 150th win is what they were talking about right there.
And a 1-2 finish for Hendrick Motorsports, a 1-2-3 finish for Chevrolet. Jimmie Johnson will head for victory lane, and they've moved it. He's got to find it first. Congratulations to Chevy driver Jimmie Johnson, winner of today's race from Chevy, an American Revolution. Johnson came in 15th in standings. He'll leave here in 4th place, and fuel was obviously of no concern. He had plenty of fuel left to do smoky burnouts. On the way to victory lane, where Chris Devoda is standing.
Jimmie Johnson hits the trifecta, his 3rd straight Las Vegas win as he climbs out of his car, and he had to do it the hard way, overcoming the adversity on pit road. And then there was the battle with his teammate Jeff Gordon as he holds up the belt. He loves this belt. He's already told me that from inside his car, that he loves this belt. Jimmie, the problem on pit road, the battle with Jeff Gordon, what's the most gratifying part?
Overcoming adversity today. We had a couple different things going today. I got on the wall and tore the right side of the car up and thought that I hurt the race car. So overcoming that, adjusting to it, I kind of thought we were 3rd or 4th place car, and Chad made some great adjustments, got this car right.
As we said, 3 straight in the desert for Jimmie Johnson. Mike Joy?
Well, the odds were against him, but Jimmie Johnson and his team overcame quite a lot of problems on the track and pit road.
But the guy I'm going to be watching leaving here, Mike and Darrell, is a guy that got his 3rd consecutive top 5 finish of the season. Mark Martin, still the points leader. So what are the odds? 3 down, 1 to go to Bristol.
Yeah, and the guy I'm going to be watching is Dale Jr. I've got a feeling they're going to have a team meeting about that last pit stop call.
A couple of guys needed great runs. Ryan Newman finished 8th. How about Jamie McMurray? Finally gets a top 10 finish, not a DNF here today.
We'll go even faster in Atlanta next week. Now, down to the Hollywood Hotel and Casino.
All right, thank you. It'll be a 3-boogity race, I'm sure, in Atlanta. Hey, you know, actually the odds, Jimmie Johnson came in Vegas where it's legal to bet as the 5-to-1 favorite, and he obviously cashed in. Some thoughts on Mark Martin. Larry mentioned the points leader as we head to Atlanta. Again, hedging on whether he's going to continue to run more races than he originally said.
I think that's, you know, that's part of the talk, but I think the key thing is the turnaround of this whole Ginn operation. He's been up there being competitive week in and week out. So I think it bodes well that this group, this whole entire group, is on the right track. And when you talk about Dale Jr., this is the kind of race this team needed. Even though maybe they made a mistake right there at the end as far as getting off the sequence is concerned, they still were very competitive today, and that's what they needed.
All right, and this is the points up. Look at Jeff Gordon, who led for a while, finishing in the top 10, so currently running 2nd. They'll shake things up in Atlanta. For our entire production crew, Jeff Hammond, I'm Chris Myers. We're going to open for the Stardust on Monday. I'm kidding. You'll get that on the way home. Thanks for being a part of NASCAR on Fox. We'll see you 1:30 Eastern next Sunday from Atlanta.